Okay, good evening, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. There are agendas available on the table near the entrance or online at the city's website. A public comment period is listed at the beginning of the agenda, and this will allow up to 15 minutes for citizens to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda. Speakers do not need to be residents of Waterville and will be allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. Any in-person attendees wishing to speak during the public comment period are asked to sign up on the sheet located in the back. Remote attendees are asked to raise their virtual hand if they wish to speak. Speakers will be alternated between citizens who are attending in person and those attending remotely. If more citizens wish to speak after the allotted 15-minute period has expired, a continuation of the public comment period will be provided at the end of the agenda. The consent agenda items are routine in nature and are voted on in one motion and vote. Any unfinished or new business items are voted on separately. Councilors who have questions or comments on an agenda item may speak after being recognized. After all councilors have had the opportunity to speak, questions and comments from the public will follow. Citizens must be recognized by the mayor and will be allowed to speak only once for up to 3 minutes per each agenda item. Okay, with that, let us move on to a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, fantastic. Okay, moving on to disclosure of conflict of interest. Any members of the council have any conflict of interest with any of the votes that they may take tonight? Seeing none. All right, we will move on to the first order, which is a proclamation. And this is one that I'm really happy about. I'm happy about them all, but this was really one that I've been talking with Mark Hewitt over at the Martial Arts, and they have a really big event coming up on Saturday. And we actually have a couple of students here that are going to give us a little taste of what's going to happen on Saturday. But let's start off with this proclamation. So, whereas martial arts provides a powerful foundation for emotional development and successful skills that last a lifetime, and whereas the participation in martial arts builds strength, character, focus, flexibility, and coordination while enhancing performance in other sports, in the workplace, at home, and at school. And whereas martial arts enhance self, goal-setting abilities, anger management, and the skills of nonviolent conflict resolution in people of all ages, helping them to become more productive and healthy people. And whereas the 42nd Battle of Maine Martial Arts Championship will take place on March 23rd, and that's over at Champions, will benefit the Maine's Children Cancer Program. Now, I, therefore, Michael Morris, as Mayor of Waterville, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Waterville, do hereby proclaim that March 23rd, 2024 as Martial Arts Day. And in the witness of whereof, I do hereby set my hand in the seal on the 19th day of March, 2024. So this is the proclamation for them. We have Lucia and Trenton. If you want to come up real quick and do our little thing, this will be fantastic.
I am Lucia LaCroix, representing HSK, competing foe staff.
Incredible.
Trenton, good luck. That was pretty cool, I'm just saying.
My name is Baron Clark. My father is Basadai. Basadai!
Yeah, awesome. Fantastic. Best of luck to both of you this weekend. I think this is it's going to be a great event. And this is for you. Look, if you want to take this. Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Thank you. All right. Well, it's all downhill from here. I got your notes. All right, we're going to start the night off. We've got a couple of presentations. We're going to start off with the Pleasant Street water main improvement projects that are going to be happening starting relatively soon. So if we have someone from the water district here that wants to jump up, great.
What a tough act to follow. Mine's going to be way less exciting, I promise. Awesome. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Max Kenny. I'm a member of the district's engineering team and project manager for the Pleasant Street Area Water Main Improvements Project. We appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you tonight and share some additional details about this important public infrastructure investment project. Before we start off, next slide, please. No worries. Before we start off, we just wanted to, about the project, we wanted to give you a little bit of information and facts about Kennebec Water District. We are the municipal drinking water utility for the greater Waterville area. We serve the communities of Waterville, Winslow, Fairfield, Benton, Vassalboro, and we sell water wholesale to the Maine Water Company, which provides water for Oakland. Our source water is China Lake, and we have a water treatment facility located in Vassalboro. Our average daily water production at the water treatment plant is 3 million gallons per day, or about 1 billion gallons annually. The estimated population that we serve is about 22,500 people, and that includes the population for all of the communities that we do serve. We maintain about 172 miles of pipeline, including 18 miles of transmission main and 154 miles of distribution main. Our transmission main runs from China Lake to our water treatment facility in Vassalboro, and then from the water treatment facility in Vassalboro to our main pump station on Western Avenue here in Waterville. The oldest water main in service that we know of, at least, is 140 years old, installed in 1883. We have a dedicated team of 28 full-time employees. We're governed by a 10-member board of trustees, 4 of which are from Waterville, one of which, Jeff Erickson, is here tonight in the audience. Our trustee meetings are the first and third Thursday of every month. Those are open to the public, and all are welcome to attend. We are proud of the work that we do at Kennebec Water District in working really hard to keep the water, or the cost of water, low. Our cost right now of water is 0.27 cents per gallon, so we're really proud of that. We also would like to extend an invite for any council member or city official who would be interested in touring either the water treatment facility or our new operations facility on Drummond Avenue. We're happy to set something up with you to do so. Next slide, please. Now moving on to the project at hand, the Pleasant Street Water Main Improvements Project. The construction team for this project is obviously Kennebec Water District. We're the water system owner. Nitram Excavation out of Benton, they're our contractor who was selected via competitive bid process. And the Maine Drinking Water Program, in coordination with the State Revolving Loan Fund, is the funding partner for this important project. Next slide. The project location, as the title indicates, is Pleasant Street. We will be replacing the water main all the way from the intersection of Western Avenue to the intersection of Main Street. This area is outlined in yellow, and we put a few key landmarks within the city on the screen just to kind of highlight the area. Next slide. In addition to Pleasant Street, we'll also be replacing the water mains on Pleasant Place, Center Street, and Pleasant Court, all adjacent to Pleasant Street, again outlined here on the screen in yellow. And then we've called out where Walgreens is just to kind of give some reference points. Next slide. The water mains that are scheduled for replacement are 2 inches and 6-inch cast iron pipes, some of which are a century old. For instance, the water main on Pleasant Street and Center Street was installed in 1903, so well over a century old. We've experienced many emergency main repairs on Pleasant Street and Center Street over the past decade. Most recently, as seen in the photo, we had an emergency main repair last February during a snowstorm, so we're eager to get these replaced. The water mains are undersized for the demand that we're seeing in the busy developing downtown Waterville area, and we hope that this project will improve water quality by allowing more water to pass from the Western Avenue pump station to the Main Street corridor. Next slide. During this project, we will be providing a temporary water system to provide water to residents who live along these streets where the water main is getting replaced. This water is safe to drink, safe to shower with, safe to cook with, so everything you'd normally use water for. The temporary water system will consist of above ground piping. Anywhere we're crossing a driveway, there will be ramps built so traffic, cars can drive over the water main. They won't damage the pipeline. Each of the existing water services along these streets that are getting their water main replaced will have a temporary water connection. During that connection process where we hook the homes and businesses up and then disconnect from the temporary water system, there will be short duration outages, typically less than an hour, and we will make contact, either the contractor or Kennebec Water District, with all impacted residents prior to those events taking place. We do ask that motorists as well as pedestrians watch for barricades, cones, signs marking the temporary water system. Occasionally, if those get hit with a vehicle, they could break, or they're also a tripping hazard in certain locations. Next slide. The City of Waterville's Engineering Department, Kennebec Water District, and Nitram Excavation have worked really hard to develop a traffic control plan, which we hope will limit the traffic impacts associated with this project. However, obviously, given the nature of the work, traffic impacts are unavoidable. We have broken this project up into 3 phases of work. The first phase being Pleasant Street from North Street to Main Street. During this phase of work, the roadway will be shut down, no traffic, neither northbound nor southbound. Access to the businesses that have driveways onto that portion their customers will be asked to enter from their North Street driveways. Phase 2 of the project is the largest phase. This is Pleasant Street from North Street to Park Street, as well as Pleasant Court, Pleasant Place, and Center Street. During this phase of work, Pleasant Place, Pleasant Court, and Center Street will be closed to local traffic only, so only residents on those streets will be allowed to enter. Pleasant Street will have northbound traffic detoured at Park Street out to Elm Street. Southbound traffic will be allowed to travel. The third phase is Pleasant Street from Park Street to Western Avenue. This phase, similar to phase 2, will allow southbound traffic on Pleasant Street, but northbound traffic will be diverted at Western Avenue all the way to Elm Street, and then have to travel up Elm Street and then back down Park Street to continue on Pleasant Street. Phase 3, just to note, does pass by the Albert S. Hall School. We have scheduled this work to be when the school is out of session, so this will take place during the summer, just because that's a very congested, busy area with pickup and drop off. We will have a few short duration road closures within phase 2 and phase 3. Those are unavoidable given where we have to cross the entire width of the road with water main installation. Those should be 1 day maximum. We will be posting notices on our Facebook page So we would encourage you to check there for updated information. Again, similar to the temporary water system, we do ask that motorists and pedestrians watch for signs, flaggers, barricades directing where traffic can and cannot drive at that time. And then anybody who doesn't have to be on Pleasant Street, we would encourage you to use Main Street and Elm Street just to avoid the construction zone. Next slide, please. The work schedule, typical work hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. We do anticipate some night work being required at the intersection of Western Avenue and Pleasant Street. This is really to avoid traffic disruptions during the day on the busy Western Avenue road. We will not be allowing night or weekend or holiday work as part of this project. We will be paving areas of the trenches that have high traffic, where traffic's coming off of Center Street, for instance, onto Pleasant Street. Those areas will be paved on a weekly basis just to ensure that gravel and debris aren't tracked out into the roadway. Work is anticipated to begin this coming Monday on Phase 1, temporary water system. That won't be a closure of the road. It'll just be a few crews out there on the side of the street putting pipe out. We don't anticipate any digging in the street or traffic pattern changes to begin until April 1st, and that will be right there at the intersection of North Street and Pleasant Street. We will provide notices to impacted customers as well as posts on our Facebook page around long duration water outages. Those are more day-long outage events as opposed to 1 hour or so for temporary water connections. So be on the lookout for hand-delivered flyers to your doors if you're residents in that area, or post on our Facebook page. We will also post periodic project updates on our Facebook page, so we would encourage anybody interested to follow us on Facebook, and certainly residents in the area to follow us to be up to date with the most recent information. Next slide. With that, certainly happy to answer any questions. My contact information is there. You can call us or email us at Kennebec Water, and we'll be happy to answer any specific project questions that anybody does have.
You're impacted, you're on the street.
I do. I live on Pleasant Street. I also represent the entire impacted area. When the flyers were dropped off on the doors, all of a sudden my neighbors wanted to get to know me quite a lot. So a lot of these questions that they have, I think I'm just going to email you because they
Sure.
don't concern anybody who doesn't live on the street.
Yep.
But one thing that I saw, it was either on Facebook or it was on the flyer, that sidewalks will be open. Is that still true? There will be traffic?
One side of the street sidewalks will be open, one side will be closed.
Okay.
Because the water main is going to be installed right there at the curb line on one side of the
Yeah.
street, so the sidewalk will be pretty
That makes sense.
heavily impacted.
I think the biggest question that I'll address here is it going to be coned off so that it's strictly one lane? We already have a lot of concerns getting in and out of our driveways because Pleasant Street's a fairly busy street. So that's kind of our concern, is our ability to safely get in and out of our driveways, or have something delivered, or there's a daycare next to me for drop-offs to happen.
Yeah, so the one side of the road, the northbound side, will be coned off for each phase of work. When the phase is taking place, we won't be adjusting traffic control for nights or weekends. It will be that traffic layout will maintain the entire duration of that phase. It won't be that the cones are so closely together that you can't pull off into that space. For a delivery truck delivering on an evening or something, or backing out of your driveway, you'll be able to back out into the opposite lane slightly in order to pull out and continue down southbound.
Thank you.
Of course.
And like I said, I'll email.
Yeah, happy to respond to any questions that
Other
any of the
moderators'
council has,
questions.
or any citizens. Feel free to reach out or call us. Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck on the project. All right, next up is the audit report.
Looking for Mr. Neto.
He's not online.
Mr. Mayor, appears Mr. Nato is not in attendance, so we'll have to shelve the audit report to our next meeting.
Okay. All those in favor? Michael. Yes. Sorry, thank you, Chad. Okay, moving right along then, we have Michael Hall, and we're going to certified local government program overview. Okay. Clarification, this is Brian, just anyway.
So I just wanted to open this up. We want to do this presentation before the actual ordinance comes before you in a couple weeks. This is a total revamp of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. The Historic Preservation Committee, as well as Michael, our new Community Development Specialist, have been hard at work the last number of months on this ordinance. They've made a remarkable amount of progress. And so this new ordinance is going to allow us to become a certified local government. And Michael's about to tell you why that's important. It establishes local control over the historic preservation process. It allows us much better opportunity towards grant funding and grant monies that are out there. There's a whole host of benefits. So I just want to recognize the work of the Historic Preservation Committee. They've really done some great work in the past number of months, as well as Michael. He's going to fill you in on some of the details, and then you can expect this before you in 2 weeks for our first reading. But we're going to get the actual ordinance out to you beforehand. We're going to encourage any questions that you may have to get to us whenever. We can help walk you through some of those points of it. It is a bit of a different animal than we have been used to. So we want to do this presentation, take any questions, and then get it before you in a couple weeks. But again, thank you to everyone involved in getting us to where we are with this process. It's very exciting. I strongly support this. And I think a number of city staff, as well as the committee members, I see Jay Violet here also tonight, are very excited about this. And joining many of our peers in the state, Bangor, Augusta, Portland, many other towns and cities who are already certified local governments. And we are ready to go. So, Michael.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm Michael Hall. I'm the Community Development Specialist for the city, and I'm also city staff for the Historic Preservation Committee. So today I'm going to kind of take you through certified local government and what that might mean for the city of Waterville. And so without further ado, so what are certified local governments? Certified local governments are essentially a historic preservation ordinance that's passed at the municipal level. And it's about giving local control over historical resources back to the people in the community. So what's the difference between certified local government and, for example, having some place added on the National Register? There's a common misperception that when you add a property on the National Register, that it is protected from alteration, that it's protected from unsightly rehabs, and that it's protected from endangerment or demolition. This is not true. Adding it on the National Register is only listing it on the national scale. And it opens you up to tax credits, yes, but that's the only limits that National Register has. Certified local government is adding an extra layer of protection to protect these resources at the local level. Patty? So what are the benefits of having a certified local government, or a CLG for short? So certified local governments essentially bring local control over the historical resources. They're there as a way to protect what's already there and enshrine historic preservation at the local level, utilizing local committee that's drawn from local people. Furthermore, it's about cutting the red tape of the National Register process. Certified local governments, municipalities that are certified local governments, can fast track landmarks or individual properties to the National Register, cutting through a lot of red tape and opening up a lot of funding to the community itself. Another benefit is the funding. States receive annual appropriations from the Historic Preservation Fund on the national scale. 10% of that funding is earmarked for communities that are certified local government. This means that certified local governments can get grant monies that are earmarked, and they can pass those grants on to eligible property owners within their purview. Furthermore, certified local governments are open to a wider range of technical assistance from the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. This means that any sort of nomination process, any kind of survey work, any kind of technical or historic preservation assistance, you have the Maine Historic Preservation Commission right at your beck and call. Lastly, it's about sustainability. It's about sustaining what we have. It's about increasing property values for more tax revenue. It's about securing walkability, and it's about securing, again, what makes Waterville great. So, Patty. So which areas will be governed? Well, typically when you become a certified local government, the only areas affected are those already on the National Register. Waterville has currently 16 properties listed. Some of these properties are districts in their own right, mostly in the downtown area, Lockwood and the rest of Main Street. Others are individual listed properties. These would generally fall under the purview of certified local government. So how would a certified local government work in Waterville? Well, it's pretty simple. Like an individual applicant who would want to alter something street side, and only street side, to do an exterior renovation, maybe add a new entrance, for example, would fill out an application. The application would be passed on to the planning department, who would draw up a summary. The summary and the application would then go to a newly formed commission, the Waterville Historic Preservation Commission. They would review the application. They would render a decision. That decision would be passed on to city staff, who would issue a certificate of appropriateness. If for any reason the individual applicant didn't like the decision, they could take the appeal directly to the planning board. So what about adding new properties or districts? Well, the process is somewhat similar, but somewhat different. If a new property, if a new individual that is outside of a district has a property that they want added to certified local government, they again would fill out an application, submit it to the planning department. The planning department would summarize it, but instead of the commission rendering a decision, they would make a recommendation based on the application. This recommendation would then be passed on to council. It's the same if there was a district. If a neighborhood decided that they wanted to be certified local government, or if the commission decided that, hey, we'd like to survey an area because we think that they would be a great addition to certified local government, they would debate, make a recommendation. The recommendation would then be passed on to city council to debate and open it up to public comment to any area affected. So what are the other CLG communities in Maine? Currently, there are 11. They range all the way from Augusta down to York, cities of all sizes, and some maintain contiguous boundaries, some maintain contiguous boundaries with individual landmarks, but the one thing that they have all in common is their commitment to historic preservation at the local level. And that, in a nutshell, is what certified local government is all about. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the council, Mike?
Not really a question, but I just want to say that, historical preservation, I think, is vital for any community. And if we, don't take the steps to care about our own history, nobody else will. So I really want to commend the work that the committee did. I know that this was a long process, and that they worked very hard on this, and this is great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yes.
So the ultimate authority for the renovation pathway that you talked about lies with the commission. Is that correct? Or it goes on to the city staff, and then they can city staff. Are they under the mandate to execute the commission's will, or can they make a decision that's in some way at odds, or modify that
So ultimate authority wouldn't rest necessarily with the commission. There is an appeals process that would go to the planning board if the individual applicant felt like they didn't agree with the decision. So the commission would be there as an advisory role, but also, as a recommendation of, hey, we view this, we view these rehabs as positive or negative, and this is our decision based on that. But if an individual applicant was unhappy with the decision, they can take an appeal to the planning board.
And so in the appeals process, how does that work if they don't get the result that they like coming out of the planning board step?
So the appeals process would be, essentially, they would take the decision that city staff passed on to them and then file an appeal directly with the planning board, get it on the agenda, and then make their case.
Thank you.
Yes.
So what are the criteria for adoption of landmarks? Will that be something that's in the ordinance or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yep, that is listed in the ordinance.
great. And also just the difference between a district and a landmark or property? Do you have a definition?
So districts are usually, they have a contiguous boundary. So for example, Waterville, Main Street in Waterville is added as a National Register district. And that means that there's a group of buildings all together under, one area, whereas individual property, they could be disparate throughout the community.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Miguel.
Thank you.
So again, we're going to have the actual ordinance out to you the next week or so. Take a look at it. Any further questions, please get back to Michael, myself, and we'll try to address a lot of those before we get to the first reading on April 3rd.
All right, next up, we have the manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recreation impact study. We had our kickoff meeting with Camoin this past week to begin the study process. We're excited to have this opportunity that will give us some needed data and guidance as we look to enhance our recreational assets here in Waterville. So again, thank you to all those involved in securing the USDA grant that is funding this project, including Jennifer Kerstead, Corey Rhodes, city staff, and many, many others. Thank you for your work there. Beginning next week, a comprehensive plan survey will be available and going out to assist in the development of our new comprehensive plan. The survey will be available electronically, as well as paper copies will be available at select locations around the city, including City Hall, the Waterville Public Library, the Muskie Center, and others to be announced. So we're encouraging all Waterville residents to please participate in this survey. Fill it out. It won't take too long. It's really good information that we need to have. And survey responses will be due back by May 3rd, that the Comprehensive Plan Committee will then be compiling results and moving forward with their work. Snow Pond Arts and the airport, the city will be partnering with Snow Pond Arts this year to accommodate some overflow parking at the airport for a small number of shows in 2024. Where additional parking is needed, there may be talking about 2 or 3 events. This is another opportunity to showcase the airport and get some good face time. And we're also going to be receiving 50% of all the parking revenues from this endeavor. It's only for this year. We'll try it out. We'll see how it goes. And maybe the partnership will continue beyond that. I want to thank all those who turned out to the Muskie Center yesterday for my open office hours event. It was a very good turnout. It was great to see a lot of new faces. So there was nothing wrong with the old faces. We appreciate those too. But it was a good event, lots of new people, and some good discussion. So our next session will be on Monday, April 22nd, 3:30 to 5:30. Location still in the works, and that announcement will be forthcoming. I'm excited to announce, I had a meeting a couple weeks ago, but going to be forming a city manager's street tree task force to assist in developing a strong program to inventory, maintain, and replenish our neighborhood street trees. We're also going to be proposing funds in the capital plan this year as seed money in this effort. We're also working on applying for Project Canopy grant funding that Michael is also working on. The benefits benefits, I probably don't have to say this to many of you, of street trees are numerous, including cooling during summer heat, which our summers are getting hotter, as you know, improved air quality, neighborhood beautification, which also raises property values. And this is a concern to many, but there is even some data out there that shows consistent street trees slow traffic or calm traffic by providing a perceived narrower roadway. So there are many neighborhoods in Waterville that are currently lacking some decent street tree cover. Many older trees have died and moved on that need replacing. So our objective here with this group is to begin to map out where we can begin to replenish our trees, obviously involving our Parks and Rec department, and creating a more robust program for keeping this effort going into the future and valuing our street trees around Waterville. Additionally, I'm going to say that the committee is going to be looking at a number of different species of trees that would be suitable. Of course, there is the elm, which we're known for as the Elm City. There is a new disease-resistant elm that many communities are using, and I think there is some excitement to bring some elms back to the Elm City. So we're excited about this. It's going to be an ongoing effort involving many people. If you are interested in street trees, please get in touch with me and let me know. We already have a good group of 5 or 6 committed tree people, I'll call them. And so if you're interested in joining, please get in touch with me, and we have a lot of work to do. An update on our fiscal year 25 budget. Administration and Finance have now completed our budget proposal. We expect to meet with the City Finance Committee, which includes the school department, next week. We'll have a more detailed look at their budget, which will be great. And I'll have a more detailed budget overview at our next council meeting in April, when we also begin our budget workshops. You should have all received a copy of that budget workshop schedule. Also new this year, we're going to be adding a public hearing on the overall budget. That's going to be taking place on May 7th for anyone in the public to come and sound off on the overall budget and provide any feedback here at a council meeting. And we anticipate our final vote on the total budget to be on May 21st, which will be ahead, obviously, of the end of the fiscal year, which would be good to get out of the way. A reminder to enroll in our city mass notification system. The numbers are growing slowly but steadily, encouraging everyone to sign up at waterville-me.myfreealerts.com if you haven't already. Lastly, I just want to mention there is a special election on April 2nd for Ward 5 residents for a new councilor to sit up here. Voting is going to be held here at the City Hall Annex, 46 Front Street, so please come out to vote. Ward 5 only, April 2nd. Patty, the hours are?
8 to 8.
8 to 8. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. All right, moving on to council comments and/or committee updates. Council Finch?
So the city manager just touched on this, but having been a member of the Comprehensive Plan Commission since its inception, and now on council, I just want to say that this survey that we're putting out, this is something we've been working on since October. Many a discussion about what questions to ask. So it's about 12 questions directly related to the comprehensive plan, and then we're going to ask for about just some demographic questions. And this is really an opportunity to kind of inform what you'd like the plan of the city to be for the next several years. That includes kind of main areas of development and what to focus on as priorities for the city. So I strongly encourage everyone to grab a copy, fill it out. I would also like to encourage you to fill out the survey online. They're going to wind up online eventually. I don't want to do data entry, so please strongly encourage filling it out online. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman McCormick?
Recently, the city put some signage up on Silver Street. This is primarily for parishioners at Notre Dame Church. The families that live directly across the street from the church were having problems with getting out of their driveways. So we've put up some no parking signs, and we're asking you to respect this. There's been a couple of near misses. Putting the signs up also in this area opens the roadway up a little bit so people can get through there. I'm sure most people in the room tonight have driven through there on a Saturday afternoon, and somebody jaywalking between two cars trying to get to the mass. and you come to an immediate stop. And I'm just asking that we respect the signage. Don't park in front of these two houses. Let them have their privacy a little bit. There's plenty of parking out back. That's.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none. All right, we're going to move on to public comment. This section is, again, for citizens who wish to speak on a topic that's not currently on the agenda tonight. Anyone that is interested in speaking, please come to the podium and identify themselves, and we will limit to 3 minutes. We do have the sign-up sheet, and the first person that I had on the sheet tonight is Ray Howe. Good evening.
Good evening. Name Ray Howe, Ward 2. This is my daughter. I was here about 4 months ago. I'm having a serious safety issue on my, it's a little court. I don't know if you remember, or he does, but it's a little court. It's a private court. And according to my deed, it's just myself and Harry J. Smith, they're supposed to use it. And there's a cut through on the end of the court that goes over my court. And it was always closed. There wasn't a room to go through. But it got opened up back a few months ago. And since then, traffic, 50, 60 cars a day are coming down to my court, our court, I should say, crossing it, leaving. We don't know where they're coming from, where they're going. I mean, we've had 2 or 3 times that we've had close to having an accident. And I think, but where they're going, I'll be honest with you, they're going to Treasure Chest. Treasure Chest is on Sanger Avenue. This is Ludlow Court. This is not Sanger Avenue. I don't think that that traffic going there should be allowed to come in and cross our court. I mean, I don't know where they're coming from half the time. I mean, like I say, there's 50, 60 cars a day. You know, like I say, I was here in November. Mike came over, he came over, and they looked at it, but I haven't heard anything since. So I don't know what the story is or what the situation is. All I know is a serious situation. It's dangerous. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can't leave our house without being, taking a chance of somebody running into us. It's not right. And it's like I say, it's a private court. It's supposed to be used by myself and Harry Smith. It's in my deed.
Okay.
So, I got something. Is there a safety committee in Waterville? Or are you the safety committee?
I don't believe there is a safety committee per se in Waterville at this time.
No. That don't do me any good, but it's, I watch these shows. I watch you guys do fantastic work for the neighborhood, for Waterville.
Yeah.
But like I say, this is a safety problem. It's
20 seconds.
big pardon?
I'm just giving you a heads up, 20 seconds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But anyway, I'd like to see something done there.
Okay.
I've been there for 63 years, pay taxes for 53 years, and what do I get? They don't plow the court, they're just private. I have to put my rubbish out on the other street, because that's where they pick up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just things like that, like I say, 63 years, and I feel like I'm.
Yeah. Thank you. And I do remember you here back in November, and we will absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick.
Absolutely.
Right, so I come out, I know we talked about putting some signage in, and I believe that signage has gone in, the signs we talked about. But I'm happy to come back out if you want to talk about some additional things, then we can talk with Matt and, but.
That's probably fine, but I really don't think just signs will do it. They're not gonna see the signs.
We're happy to talk more, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right?
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Howe. Patty, anyone online wishing to speak at public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. I don't have anyone else on the list. Is there anybody else that wants to speak during the public comment portion on anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. Fair enough. Thank you very much. All right, let's move to consent agenda. Is there a motion for passage of the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, Pat, can I get a vote?
All in favor? Vote is unanimous.
Wonderful. All right, moving on to old business, Order 59, 2024. Thank you. Okay. Can we get a vote
Was there
on
a
that?
second on that?
There
Sorry.
was, yeah.
Yes.
Re and voted.
All those in favor?
Thank you very much. All
Order-
right.
Order 59, 2024, approve use of ARPA funds to support Waterville Area Soup Kitchen.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. I will open this up for counselor discussion. Anyone want to kick us off? Okay. Any public discussion? Ma'am, you want to talk about the soup kitchen? Yes. Okay.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening.
Brenda Whitney.
Brenda.
Okay. I would like to start with saying there are two things. that are
Ma'am, would you speak into the microphone
Yeah,
for us?
sorry.
Bring it down.
Mic
there
is
for-
tall.
There you go, there you go.
Okay, everybody got me now?
We do.
All right. There are two things that humans need. And one is air and the other is food. If you don't have one, you won't need the other. And if memory serves, in 2017, the World Health Organization put out a paper that said that every 24 hours, 5,000 children die of starvation between birth and 5 years old. What is wrong with that picture? Now, I know we can't help everybody throughout the world, but I think that we really need to step up and help everybody that we can in our area. Sometimes I have food trucks I take through the community action program to Skowhegan, and sometimes I've given food out to more than 500 people. And like I say, if you don't have air or food, you won't need the other. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Patty, anyone online wishing to weigh in on the soup kitchen order? Oh, please. Hi.
David Gilman.
Hi, David.
Hi. I am the Vice President of Finance at Days Jewelers. I don't have a prepared speech, but just a few things I wanted to point out to the council. For 20 plus years, we've occupied the space above the retail store at 88 Main as our corporate offices. And last summer, our lease was coming up. And we had a long discussion internally as to whether we were going to stay in Waterville or move. We made the conscious decision to stay local. And we've moved to 21 College Ave, which most of you probably know as the Elm. And I want to preface this by, I have full sympathy for what the woman before me just spoke about. My message here, as I wrote in a letter to you all, was to not criminalize poverty, but just express the other side of the funding of the soup kitchen. Since we've occupied that space September 2023, during the winter months, especially when it's darker out early, we have employees coming and going. That's a high traffic area coming through that parking lot in between us and the post office. And we've experienced a lot of patrons hanging out, loitering. We've put up no loitering signs, fences. We have delivery trucks that come in and bring some valuable items, and oftentimes are met with people popping out from under the stairs that have been camping out. And I don't have an immediate solution, but our intention here was to just express the other side of the location of the soup kitchen and then the increased funding of it, more bodies coming into town. Again, I'm not against the soup kitchen and funding of it at all, but maybe some funds allocated elsewhere, whether it be to patrolling or other surveillance of the area. But we do have employees that are expressing their concern with coming in when it's dark, leaving when it's dark, and being approached by people. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Anyone else? No, I'm sorry, Mayor. No. No, I'm sorry, you can only speak once, ma'am. Only once per item, you can come up again. I'm over here, sorry. Thank you.
Mayor, we have a gentleman online, Greg Perkins, who would like to speak.
Perfect, let's bring him on, or unmute him.
Mr. Perkins, can you hear us?
You're on mute, Greg.
You're muted, sir.
There we go.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes,
We
we can.
can.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. My name's Greg Perkins, I'm the owner of Wichita Soup Kitchen. I've had numerous issues since they opened. I fully support their operation, I do. I believe in their mission. I know there are a lot of people, and they do a lot of good work. And my complaint is not that they're helping people. It's just that some of the people that they help do create problems, and I've had numerous issues that involve my tenants in my building, and I just have concerns for their. I emailed the council and I shared some examples my tenants had written to me about. And so I'd like to see some allocation of funding or some way to address some of these concerns on things that happen outside of the soup kitchen that affect my tenants and abutting property. And I am very concerned for my tenants' safety. You know, they've been approached. I've had one tenant was pinned in her car by a patron of the soup kitchen and was so scared she had to call the police and threatened to mace him. And I've got tenants being solicited and patrons that were trying to sleep in my building, and there are just numerous issues on. And so I'm looking for some help and some guidance from the community as to what we can do to try and address this side of things that arise by nature of a soup kitchen. And again, I fully support their mission. Just looking for some help, I guess, because I'm concerned for my tenants' safety.
Excellent, thank you. Patty, anyone else online?
Yes. Bill Mitchell would like to speak.
Perfect, yeah, bring him on.
Hi, Patty, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Mitchell. I've lived and worked in Waterville my entire life. My wife and I have been long-term supporters of many great causes in Waterville, particularly those that focus on the working poor and our most needy people for many years. I own the building at 21 College Avenue. Dave Gilman mentioned it, previously known as the Elm, but many of you may recall it even more so as the American Legion. I bought the building about 5 years ago. It was in quite disrepair, made significant investments to improve its condition, and began working to find occupants for the building. Days Jewelers was looking for space, as Dave articulated, and they took over the first floor of the building. There are also tenants that occupy the lower level of the building. I, too, believe the soup kitchen plays a vital role in our city, and I commend the work of that's being done to help the homeless and the hungry people in our community. But I'm also very concerned that some, not all, some of the soup kitchen patrons have become a nuisance in our city. They're disrespectful, sometimes threatening to employees, customers of businesses along that stretch of College Avenue, property owners. You've heard from Greg Perkins. You've heard from Days Jewelers. I believe the City Council and the mayor received an email from the Waterville postmaster about this issue. We all are in support of the good work that the soup kitchen is doing, but we also are looking for some solutions in improving the safety of the employees and those that favor those businesses along that stretch of College Avenue. And so I would like to propose that the city council move forward with the $50,000 allowance, but with some conditions attached to it. I think it would be reasonable, because these are patrons of the soup kitchen, that the city ask the soup kitchen for a plan.
30 seconds, Bill. Sorry.
That I'm going to be a little bit longer, Mike. I appreciate you being patient with me. To require the soup kitchen to put together a safety plan that would include providing volunteer and/or paid patrolling of the soup kitchen property while it's open, as well as its abutting neighbors, and that some of these funds, maybe 20% of this $50,000, would be used to assist the police department in providing some additional patrolling off hours. That's sometimes when the more serious problems occur. That, and just a couple more bullets and I'll be done.
10 seconds, sir.
The existing camera system at the soup kitchen be evaluated, that make sure it's covering all the necessary areas. I'm sure the police department could assist with that. And that the $50,000 be allocated over 10 months instead of a lump sum, $5,000 a month, to allow this process to work and make sure that everybody is doing what we agreed to. So those would be my suggested conditions to the $50,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else online? Anyone else in the room? Back to the council. Tom?
Given the the priorities for the spending of ARPA funds, is a proposal like Mr. Mitchell's even possible? Right. He talked about stipulations on those funds. Would that be within the scope of the ARPA program?
Well, I don't think it's really in the spirit of supporting vulnerable people. But looks like Brian had a comment.
Well, I was just going to add, I mean, the use of ARPA funds is extremely broad at this point, so I don't think there would necessarily be an issue with that. If you want to go back to the initial guidance given by the federal government, 3 and 4 years ago, I'm not sure it's, many things we're doing is totally in keeping with that, but the use of ARPA funds by municipalities is incredibly broad for use at this point.
Councilor Gilly?
I've gone back and forth when it comes to, what to do with these ARPA funds. I mean, the majority of our conversations over the past, I don't even know how long, has been, the homelessness issue in the city, the food issue in the city. But at the same time, we can't have people, being afraid to go to work. People are afraid to go to work. I mean, that should be, we represent everybody in the city. We can't have people, being afraid to go run errands at the post office. We've been inundated with emails in regards to the people that have issues, going to and from work and we got one from the postmaster today. So I think that we really need to do our due diligence in regards to allocating funds and making sure that everyone's on the same page and a plan is made. Because that really bothers me, that no one should have to be, locked in their car because they're uncomfortable or afraid to go into their office.
I got a question. So, okay, so my question is if we didn't have the soup kitchen, where would these people be? And where were they before? They were in the concourse. They were in the, over the 2-cent bridge. We don't want them anywhere in the city. So where are we going to put them?
Yeah, I sympathize with the feelings of people that have been expressed, and I think safety is important. I do have to question a direct causal link between the soup kitchen and any activity that is making people afraid. You know, I have an email from the police chief that suggests that a lot of the activity associated with the Elm has to do with neighbors next to them that have nothing to do with the soup kitchen. So I think before we sort of draw these lines very clearly, I think we need to be very careful about that. And again, I don't understand why this issue is suddenly coming up now that we are discussing giving money to the soup kitchen. And I don't believe it's the only place in Waterville where there are people who are on the street. But the soup kitchen is doing a lot to bring these people in and help them on a sustainable path to recovery. And I think that is definitely worth supporting.
Anyone else in the council?
I've read the emails, and okay, sir, I sympathize with the soup kitchen. Same time, I have been a major advocate here on the council. We've got to draw employment to the city. This is why you got some of the problems we got now. You got people, you've got a generation. In the last 21 to 27 years, we lost 2 major employers that would be employing some of these people that have lost their way. We don't need to lose another. We've got days. They bring their corporate offices to us because they've been here forever. We've got Ware Butler. Earlier this year, we worked with Ware Butler to get their corporate offices here, hoping to draw more work. And we've got a group of people that haven't got a direction. They haven't got a focus, whatever, so they fall back to addiction or whatever else. Because that's what they know. And the majority of us in this room grew up listening to, watching the egg being busted in the frying pan. This is what your brain is on, drugs, things like that. They have to make that decision to go in that direction. Yes, they may have an addiction now, but it had to start somewhere. Now, I want to help the soup kitchen, but I want to address this other issue. I don't want somebody worried that they can't get out of the car. I don't want panhandlers on every major intersection into every entrance to every business we've got in town. They got rotation. Walmart, the entrance to Walmart, over at Hannaford, up at KMD, at the Hannaford and Shaw's. They've gotten it to where they're rotating. One guy sits there a couple hours, he gets his, he leaves, and the next guy comes in. These are the things we got to address, along with helping the soup kitchen. You got 250 people a day looking for something to eat. It screams more than just poverty or a need to feed people. This is something bigger than just helping. We've got to get some industry or some business into this area to help absorb some of these people. I work out in Vassaboro. My current employer says he could use 5 people today. We got 2 major construction projects going on over here. They can't find employees. BIW is traveling all over the state. They've traveled all the way to the West Coast looking for people to go to work to build a ship. And we're sitting here haggling about some money for the soup kitchen when we need to get these people in a direction, not just hand them a plate.
Amen.
Okay? I'm not going to say no to handing them some money tonight. At the same time, I want to see something more. Why does this city not have an employment service in town? I get told, well, they can go to the library. And I know, ma'am, that you have got some people coming down from Hinckley. But when you've got your nearest job service is sitting up in Hinckley at the college, at the vocational center, where did we lose our way? What did it take to lose these things that a generation ago we grew up looking for? You got out of high school, you went looking for a job, you went to school, you put yourself through school. Now they're forgiving education. Wait a minute.
Thank you. Mo? Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, you may, yeah.
Ten minutes ago, I thought I knew what I was going to say, but now I'm kind of off track.
Well, you got 3. Good luck.
Okay, I've got 3. So, yes, Counselor, I mean, you're talking about some significant national problems that are also writ large in a small town. We're not going to solve those problems here. But I wanted to address that my church, my ministry, is in the Elm. The United Church of Christ, the Waterville Congregational Church, has been in the Elm for, I think, about 4 years now. I have been in and out of that building 7 days a week at all hours. My office is there. Okay, I've walked in at all hours. I have never had a problem. Not once. So I don't know what's going on, except that I will tell you I tend to agree with the police that the problem is not emanating.
Mo, you got to speak into the
problem is not
mic.
emanating, excuse me very much. The problem is not emanating even significantly from the lighthouse. The issues I've had a few, there were people in housing next to the Elm, and there are issues down at the concourse, we know about that, and other places around the city. So I think it's unfortunate that this seems to be settling on the lighthouse, because I don't think that that's really the issue. I think that we have to have the food program that they're providing is vastly important to this town. There are a few people who are very severely mentally ill, and I think that's the problem. And I don't know what you do with those people, but I do not see criminal hordes and groups of people harassing many people. And I'm up and down that area all the time. So I just want to say that when we have this discussion, and it's a valid discussion, I encourage it, I want to temper us not to, as Councilwoman Flavia DeBrito has said, let's not have a causal effect of tying this to the soup kitchen. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. Anyone else? Please.
Hi, everyone. I'm sure we want to probably move on here, but
Sorry, who are you? And
my name is
who do you
Joe
represent?
Corey. I'm the president of Days Jewelers.
Thank you.
So just a quick thing, I'll move fast here. We were actually in the concourse earlier this year for the past 20 years or so.
Sure.
And the difference in the challenges we've seen from the concourse to where we are at 21 College Ave is night and day. It's vastly, vastly different. And, you know, to your point, ma'am, I completely respect what you're saying. We have cameras set up all around our buildings. We've experienced more criminal activity in the past 6 to 8 months than we've ever seen on the concourse above 88 Main Street. And there's no easy solution to any of this. I completely agree with that. we're just simply looking for solutions to protect our employees. You know, we're a longstanding business in the community. We care about our community. We give back. We donate. And when our people are sitting here complaining to us saying, I don't know what to do when I'm coming early in the morning or leaving at night, we have to take it seriously. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Councilor Klepek?
So, I understand that you probably don't have any anecdotes that you feel are harrowing of interactions that you've had, but you are also a person, Reverend, with all due respect, that's deeply embedded in that community, probably very recognizable to that community, and have a level of comfort interacting with people struggling in that community that may not be shared by many other members of our community. And so interactions that you may interpret as being innocuous may not be seen in that same light by other individuals who don't have that same acclimation to the population. And so, you know, in recognition of, you know, everybody who's in that space and who has the right to be in that space, be they patrons of the Lighthouse or employees of Days, jewelers, or you know, their employees, or whoever it happens to be, members of your congregation, et cetera. What I would like to maybe hear from people from the Lighthouse, is there some sort of middle road? Because what I would like to see is some kind of consensus, or as close as we can get to it here on the council. Are there sort of low fruit, low resource, easy ways that we could perhaps address some of these concerns, these security concerns that we've heard expressed here tonight, that could perhaps put some of the other people that are in that space that are not as used to the unhoused population, the people that are in need that you serve, that are not as used to that population as perhaps some of the workers at the Lighthouse or et cetera may have.
Carla from the Waterville Area Soup Kitchen. I'm the president of the board of directors. Boundaries were difficult for me when we first opened the Lighthouse. Over the last 6 months, I've trespassed 3 to 4 individuals from the soup kitchen. That was not easy. We typically will start with, if you have an outburst or you can't get yourself under control or something happens, you're given 2 weeks off. We will never deny anybody food, but you have 2 weeks off. You can come in and get a meal, but you can't use the dining room. So that's something that we started implementing, and it's a 3 strike. So if that happens 3 times, then they're given a trespass warning for a year. Not a warning, but a summons. We have video cameras around both entrances, all around the building, and then inside as well. We have video cameras. If something is to happen around our perimeter, we know what's happening. I can help identify, I can help the Elm if there is an issue and they have surveillance cameras and they need somebody to be identified if I can, and they're criminal, they're doing a criminal act. I mean, I don't like to blow the whistle, but I've asked them, I've spoken with the guests in the dining room to try to explain to them how sometimes they can be perceived. I'm not threatened by any of them, but I know that they can be. 5 years ago, and I've shared this with Rebecca, 5 years ago, I would have crossed the road to avoid a homeless person because I didn't understand. And since then, I run across the road to see how I can help them. How we deliver a message is crucial to how they're going to respond to what you're asking from them. And I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, but they're just people and they're hurt people. So a lot of times what you may see as confrontation is actually a defense. It's to keep them at arm's length because they're afraid they'll be rejected. I know it's hard, but I can't be at the elm to look at, to see that our people aren't over there, and I can't be next door. I do keep an eye out for Greg's property and the people that are coming out. If I see something, I do go out. But I also stress to somebody that came out to speak with me last week, if you see someone that's on your property and you've asked them to not be there, trespass them. Call the police department and have them trespassed. That's what we've had to do at the soup kitchen. And right now we have 4 people trespassed. I don't like to do it. But consequences are what bring people to sometimes being alone and recognizing who's the common denominator. It can't be everybody else. It's got to be me. And it's only when you're brought to those spaces that you're isolated and by yourself and you can't come to the soup kitchen, who really has a long fuse. We really have, there's very little that we ask except for respect for our people. And when that is crossed repeatedly, then it results in a trespass. So I would start handing out some trespass orders.
If a trespass notice is issued, are they, if there's law enforcement intervention,
Yes.
are they still able to come and grab a meal?
No.
Or, because that's obviously
That's it, but they're
it would
given
be a
3
criminal act.
opportunities.
All right.
They're given 3 opportunities, so it is choices. And it's many times because they are totally, totally disrespectful of the volunteers that come in there and give up their time, and we are not tolerating that, not anymore. And our guests don't want it either. So if there are 3 or 4 individuals that come in and disrupt and cause our people that are in there every day to not be able to put their head on the table and rest because they didn't sleep the night before, we're not going to tolerate that anymore. So unfortunately, I have to keep watch of the 99, and that might be one that can't come in. Unfortunately, it's 3 or 4 right now. But I gave fair warning. We gave fair warning. We could put a fence, but I don't know how I feel about fences. Fences put a barrier so we don't get to know one another and we don't communicate because there's a fence. But if that's what's necessary, then that's what we need to do. But, it's up for discussion, and we certainly are open to discussion. Anybody else?
I got a question for you, Colin.
Yes.
So what's the difference? Because I feel like people need to get educated, the difference between criminal offense and mental health. Can you explain a little bit of that? Because I know you deal with both at the soup kitchen. So I think we need to understand what is mental health and how is mental health really have changed since COVID?
So criminal activity, if you have somebody that's suffering from a mental health crisis, and we see that a lot at the soup kitchen. If you have somebody that's suffering with substance use and they're coming off from something or they're on something and they cause an altercation behaviorally and they become a threat and they have to be removed. Unfortunately, the next day when they're not on something, they have the consequences of what happened in that moment where they did not have control over their scruples. They were not aware of what was going on in that moment, but the consequences last them now a year. That's a really difficult line to say I want them to be trespassed. A year is a long time. But when it happens 3 or 4, and for a while it was 6 or 7 times, and finally I said no more. mental health is a crisis that I feel like we when you have somebody that should be on medication and we turn them out, they go to treatment, they come back out, and they were stable while they were there. So for the 2 weeks they were inpatient, they were stable. When they're released, if they're not under guidance from a medical provider and they're not taking their medications, then that 2 weeks is gone. And there's not, I feel like it's like putting a 5-year-old out and saying, okay, you've got to take care of your medicine now. They're not able to. You know, when I talk about transitional housing, and I know that's a different topic, that's not just for substance use, it's for mental health use as well. So we can get people stable and then on their own, 12, 15 months. But it's a very fine line. And how we deliver, and I tell my guests this all the time, how you deliver what you need is going to determine whether you get what you need or not. If you are forceful and confrontational, a wall's going up and somebody's stepping back. If we can learn to communicate with one another, smile, say hello, be cordial, even if they appear scary. I know some of them appear scary, but they're not scary. And it may be just because I'm at the soup kitchen, but I don't treat any other human being in the city any different. I treat everybody the same because we have a different perspective on the world. Yes.
I don't know how volunteer limited you are, but would it make sense to have a person in the role of greeter, someone who could, their role would be to greet people as they came into the soup kitchen, as they approached, and if there were ever interactions that, you know, they could, because they are there for a long time, they're establishing a rapport, and they can perhaps help mediate some of these interactions that are difficult for some of the other, you know, patrons of the building that aren't associated. You know, you talk about the change that you went through personally in learning how to interact with this population. It is certainly a skill, a learned skill. And so, you know, having someone around who is good at that, who has that skill, who has that familiarity and those, you know, relationship rapport to help mediate and guide and provide a sort of a safe presence for other people who might not be used to those kinds of interactions. Does that make sense? Is that something that would be potentially possible as a way of, you know, because your point well taken, you know, having people who feel that there's a trespass has been committed or a crime has been committed, that they should call the authorities in one way or the other. But that puts the burden on the, you know, on whoever else, like the Days Jeweler or something. I'm wondering what the Lighthouse might be able to do using the expertise that you and the understanding that you have to maybe help that interface between the population you're serving and the broader population that's in contact with them.
Right. So we can certainly try to do that, but we are continuing to have conversations with them and explain to them, and I'm going to have a very good conversation with them tomorrow morning, because it's important that they understand. But unfortunately, it's hard because you're probably talking about 6 or 7 individuals that are causing this disruption, and I'm addressing the entire dining room, and they're looking around like, I didn't do that. And there's an element of they don't want to be singled out or...
Okay. So, listen, I don't mean to cut you off, but like, I think that the order that we're talking about is the allocation of funds. So I think that we've had a couple, I know Councilor Finch had a conversation yesterday with some of the folks that spoke tonight within the business community. Counselor Green and myself and Brian had a Zoom call today with some of them, and we certainly have heard the concerns, and I think that there are some things that we can do, and it all starts with the conversation, right? And so I think the conversation has started, and I think that, I think the next step is to kind of formulate those concerns, bring them to you in a situation so we can have a discussion. We're not going to solve any of these issues tonight, and we're not going to put together a plan tonight unless there's a council that wants to make an amendment that says whatever they want to say. But I think that we had a really productive conversation this afternoon and walked away with some good ideas and some good thoughts and some good direction. And I think that's where it starts. I know in attending meetings, twice a month with the homeless shelter, we're going to put together a meeting, bringing people from the business community and other services and things like that to how we can assist, because we have to give them something else. If we're going to take something away, we have to give them something else to help them be successful. And it's important, and this is it's not a one-person thing. This is a community effort. So we're going to have that meeting, relatively soon, and we certainly invite anyone who wishes to come and be part of that conversation and the solution to attend. So I think that unless we want to talk about, again, the funds, I think that we should probably just move this conversation on to the vote at hand for this particular order.
I'll propose an amendment that would, of the available funds, allocate no more than $2,000 to have the security cameras evaluated. Or I guess I should say up to $2,000 to have the security cameras evaluated. I don't think what the businesses are asking for is an unreasonable ask. And unless you're willing to make that commitment right now to use some funds to have security cameras evaluated, I will put in that amendment.
Can I get a definition of evaluated,
Yeah,
please?
that's what I'd like to.
Like to see whether the system is adequate, or evaluated means someone sitting there watching them?
No,
Like what's-
an evaluation to see if the system is adequate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
not
you.
$2,000 won't cover
Yeah.
someone sitting there monitoring.
Yeah, okay, just putting it out there for clarification.
Could we not just, okay.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask if, $2,000 buys a lot of food. So
I know.
Could we just have, I don't know if Chief Bonnie has looked at it with you, and maybe, let's try that first. I would not be in favor of this.
Well, that's why I said if you're willing to commit to having the security cameras evaluated, I'll drop my amendment request.
Well, I've had several police officers come in to review footage and take footage with them, so they've already seen it.
So this isn't about the footage, this is about kind of the placement of the cameras,
Clarity.
how are the cameras running, are they working correctly? Is there a blind spot you could adjust a camera to, something like that.
There we go.
I just want to break in quickly. I think what Councilor Finch is talking, though, is about an outside expert in camera systems coming in to do that evaluation. Our chief is very competent, but he also isn't a professional camera installer. Is that correct?
What?
Very well said, and that was going to be my response.
Okay, so let's, so we're going to discussing this amendment, right? So let's, before we take a vote on.
Was there a second?
There was no
So we have a
second.
second, so yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right, now we're discussing this amendment. Okay.
Can I ask how the clarity of the cameras are? How is it? Can you see a picture, a good clear picture?
I've not seen the cameras.
Okay.
In your inexpert opinion, you don't have an opinion on how adequate their system is?
I have not viewed the cameras. I tend to spend more time on policy and other things than operations.
Of course.
Yeah.
it would seem if she's stated that patrolmen have taken footage before, so there's got to be some clarity. They wouldn't want to waste time with footage that didn't have some clarity. They can identify somebody in that picture.
Well, I want to
That-
be able to identify people, so
But-
they're clear.
I mean, that's what Mr. Finch is looking for. What's the clarity, placement?
So it's Rita's building, and the security was put in by Rita, who owned the end zone. So she is our landlord, and whenever there's an issue, I call her, and she's prompt in making sure the camera installer comes in to make sure that they're all
And-
working properly.
Seeing as it was an off-track betting facility, I'm sure they've got some fairly clear. No, if you're playing the state's casino game, you're gonna have, they're gonna require you to have something more.
We have 16 cameras. So when you view the panel, there's 16 total to look at, so.
Okay. All right, can we get a show of hands on the amendment? And right now, so we're amending this to add an additional, or take stipulation to take $2,000 out of the, up to $2,000 for review of the camera system.
So 2,000 out of the 50,000? Out of the operating funds, is that?
Up to 2,000.
Up to 2,000 out of the, it would be, yeah, the 25 that's allocated for unrestricted.
Unrestricted, okay. Okay, all those in favor of the amendment? Okay, so I have Gilly, Finch, and McCormick. Those opposed? I have DeBrito, Klepak, and Green. That's a tie vote, Mayor.
Thank you. What's that?
This keeps happening.
I know. April 3rd. I believe that this probably won't cost $2,000. I think that we could probably get an assessment from our community resource officer, Boulay, who's there to kind of, I mean, he's a sworn officer. He can take a look and see. Certainly, if we don't talk about placement or things like that, then we could probably get someone. But so I am going to vote in favor of this amendment for the $2,000 because I think it is a good investment for all involved. So.
Okay, so can we now move it as amended?
That's you guys.
Motion to move.
We need a second.
Is a second? Sure. Is there a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, discussion on the amendment as it's written now.
On the rest of the money?
Yeah.
On the order.
On the order, correct.
We're talking
With the
about-
amendment, yeah.
So the amendment to dedicate $2,000 passed, and so now we're voting on that amended order.
On the whole order now
On the
that
whole order.
allocates 25,000, undesignated 25,000, and of the undesignated 2,000, up to 2,000 would go to the camera review assessment.
I'd like to see how that solves the problem with Days Jewelers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's, again, we're not going to solve all of these problems today, okay? And that's part of the bigger conversation that we're going to have. And you know, we'll talk about that. We can control what we can control at the soup kitchen as far as the things that go on there on a day-to-day basis. You can continue to have conversations with, you know, the guests and talk to them about the area, you know, located at the Elm and Days Jewelers, and, you know, at this point, and we can certainly move on from there. But, I mean, there isn't anything else at this point we're going to solve tonight for that.
I got a question. So the main concern is safety. So where is the city stepping in and helping with that safety? So having them put on, like, taken out of their budget for safety, that should be on the city.
I think it's safety for both people, right? It's safety for everyone. It's not safety for non-patrons, it's safety for the patrons, right? And the bad, like if, any type of false accusation, anything that goes down, an embellishment like there's a lot of things that can go on
But I think that's
on both sides.
I feel like that's the city's responsibility to make people safe, not an organization to take money out of their budget to make other people safe all around. This is a community, and the city should support the safety of the community. So if they're not at the soup kitchen, where are they going to be? They're going to be somewhere else around the city. So are we going to make everybody get a security cameras?
A picture's 1,000 words, right? The police can't be everywhere. But if somebody, okay, we may not get a picture of something that happened at Days. They've got their cameras. She has her cameras. We can compare pictures. Who was where when. Also, it might get, I believe it's Mr. Mitchell, not Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Perkins owns the building next to the soup kitchen. And I'm sure he's also had complaints from tenants and things like that. Okay, back to Reverend Moe is comfortable, ma'am, you're comfortable. My wife is not always going to be comfortable. And I'll throw her under the bus, use her. She's not always going to be comfortable getting out of her car with somebody coming up. Could you lend $1? No, she's not going to be happy with that. And if we've got some footage of it, if something more happens, that's where the safety aspect comes in. No, I don't want to spend extra money that she could use for something else. But we've got this little spot that's attracting a lot of people, and we've got a larger group of people, the town, asking us, the 6 of us, what are you going to do? What step can you guys take now to make us feel a little bit better?
Point of order, the amendment passed, and
I'm just
so
explaining, she's asking and I'm answering.
I understand. The discussion that we should be having is about whether we're going to be funding them or not right now.
Right.
Yeah, the amendment, discussion on the amendment is over.
Okay.
So I'm going to propose that we give them the $2,000 back, whatever it costs for these security cameras, we give it back to the soup kitchen. Because I don't think that's fair.
So is that you're asking for a reconsideration of the vote we just took?
Well, I'm not asking for a reconsideration of that vote. I'm asking to add an amendment to give them more money because they're dealing with mental health. They're dealing with issues that the city doesn't want to deal with. So back at the back when they were on the Concord, did we ask every business there to have a business camera or stuff like that? We didn't do that.
Yes, we did.
We
Well,
didn't do that.
the request was for operating expenses. It wasn't for mental health programs. So
Well, that's part of, I mean,
I know,
operating.
I know those things exist there.
So operating expenses, unrestricted funds, I think is, it's going towards anything that the Lighthouse wants to spend it on. It's not just lights, it's food, it's all the programming, right?
Yes.
I think we need to move on with this vote. I agree with Councillor DeBrito, this seems crazy. But the vote passed. I mean, if we want to reconsider, it has to be someone who took the vote.
Yeah.
So I guess I would just offer another amendment, which would be to take the 2,000 out of the capacity building and not the operating. Which is what that is. If
I'll second that.
you think
That's
about
fine.
it.
Patty, can we get a roll call on that?
So take the 2,000 out of the fundraising capacity?
The other 25K.
And put the unrestricted back to 25.
And so move the 25, up to 2,000 from unrestricted to the fundraising capacity.
Yes.
Okay, ready for a vote? All those in favor? Counselor Gilly, Counselor DeBrito, Counselor Klepak, who else?
I think you got a unanimous on that one.
That was all 6 of us.
All six? Okay, can we move it as amended?
Well, something-
Second.
Second.
So now it's all back on the floor again with
Great.
that amendment intact.
All right. Can we get a roll call on that?
We're ready for a vote on the entire item now.
Okay,
right?
let's do it.
Is everyone ready?
Let it rip.
No. Yeah, I'm ready, I'm good.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. On to the second item.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Order 60, 2024.
Approve hangar land lease with Dylan Coots, North Ramp Lot 2.
Move to adopt.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Sorry. Okay, roll call. Vote.
Is this in order?
It is in
Yeah.
order.
Yes. Okay, so we need to do a roll call.
Perfect.
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Does that mean our previous agenda item needed to also be a roll call and not a show of hands?
It was in order.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, we should have done a roll call there.
Yeah.
But it was clearly 6 of us.
It was 6-1. I'm
No,
happy.
no, 6-0.
Well, no, the
No.
vote was
No,
4 to
The
2.
final.
Yeah, we need a roll call
Oh,
on A.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go
On
back.
item
I apologize.
59.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I will go ahead and do the roll call, just to clarify that, on item 59.
Thank
Counselor
you.
Gilly, this was the soup kitchen amended version. I believe you voted no.
No.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yeah.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
No.
Oh. Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 4 in favor and 2 opposed.
That's why we do a roll call, Patty.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, so, and we're good with 60, 2024. So
Correct.
now we're moving on to Order 61, 2024.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Approve
Patty needs to
hangar-
read first.
Sorry, approve hangar land lease with Roland Montgomery, TLF Lot 10.
Okay, motion to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, Patty?
Yes. Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Perfect. Moving on to Order 62, 2024.
Approve hangar land lease with Harvey Morrow, TWF Lot 12.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, moving on to Order 63, 2024.
Approve hangar land lease with Moosley Hangars LLC, TLF Lot 7.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, moving on to Order 64, 2024.
Approve hangar land lease with Moosley Hangars LLC, TLF Lot 9.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Patty, can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Gilly?
Yes.
Counselor DeBrito?
Yes.
Counselor Klepak?
Yes. Nice job, Randy.
Counselor Green?
Yes.
Counselor Finch?
Yes.
Counselor McCormick?
Yes.
A vote of 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay. Moving on to new business, Resolution 67, 2024.
Authorize the issuance of a short-term rental license to Andrea Poirier, doing business as Homey House Short-Term Rental.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any,
Discussion.
any discussion on this? Anything you want to add, Brian, like to this? Or what this is? Rebecca?
Could we just get an address on this property?
Looks like it's One Harding Way.
Yes, 1 Harding Way.
Okay, and I'm not sure where that is, but presumably it's not in residential A.
It's not in residential A.
Okay. Thank you.
Somebody here to speak on it, or?
Anyone from Homey House?
Andrea?
Okay.
I would just like to thank you for following the process. We have a couple of these who have come
Yeah.
forward and done the registration process. Obviously not all do, so thank you for participating.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, Patty, can I get a vote? What?
All those in favor? Opposed? 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Resolution 68, 2024.
Authorize the issuance of 2 theater licenses to Randolph Jones, doing business as the Playhouse at Waterville Station.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Anyone here from the theater? No. Okay.
I will add, this is where Railroad Square used to be. And, God, what I read on the Playhouse was so long ago, I can't remember. But basically, they do a lot of, I don't want to call them one-act plays, but they do a lot of plays and stuff, doesn't use a lot of scenery, really kind of focuses on the actors and the strength of the actors involved. It's a cool little community, but just to give some more information to the public kind of about what the Playhouse is.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, Patty, can I get a vote, please?
All those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, Resolution 69, 2024.
Authorize the renewal of a special amusement permit to Charles Jiggier, doing business as Silver Street Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. I don't see anybody from Silver Street here? I don't see them. Okay. Patty, can I get a vote, please?
All those in favor? Any opposed? It's unanimous.
All right, moving on to Resolution 70, 2024.
Authorize the issuance of an outdoor dining permit and outdoor dining extension to Charles Jiggier, doing business as Silver Street Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question that I'm not sure can be answered, but that 16 feet, is that half of the street? Does anyone know?
I don't know that it's half of the street. I believe what they plan to do is the same as last year, but
It was the whole street.
Looks like
Yeah,
it's the
16
whole street
feet
on the map.
is less than the width of the street, so I would say you're probably correct. It's not the full street extension.
Okay, because I just know that, wait, so it's not the full street extension?
16 feet?
Well, you're talking about the width.
Yeah,
think you're
I
talking
know,
about-
the width of the street, I
Yeah.
understand. I'm not sure if it's the full street. that
By
they're
this
asking.
drawing, it is
It
the
looks to
width
be-
of the street because he shows a line from sidewalk to sidewalk.
Correct, okay.
Oh, I missed that second sidewalk.
Yeah.
I know that Plord had been in here when we approved outdoor dining and had basically said that he has a tenant that's potentially going into where the other space is, and he had, requested that Silver Street, that whole street not be taken up. So I would offer an amendment to do 8 feet on the street and leave room if there is a tenant that comes in who would like to use that half space. Just to split the road between the two tenants.
I'd just like to ask, Matt, isn't there more than 16 feet there?
Yes,
I was gonna-
if the sidewalks.
Yeah.
The road in between the sidewalks would be
It's-
roughly 16 feet. It would be the whole.
The road in between, but they're not including the sidewalks.
No. They're not
Right.
including the sidewalks, and it probably doesn't stretch all the way to the other sidewalk. It's
Right.
hard to say though.
Maybe I'll suggest, we could always table and we can do some measurements and talk with the two parties and come back, maybe.
Motion to table
Until next meeting?
till the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a motion to table,
I second.
and there's a second. Any discussion on that?
No, can we get a vote on the table?
All those in favor?
Perfect. All right, moving on to Resolution 71, 2024.
Accept bid award for local paving and sidewalk project.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right. Matt? Thank you.
Okay, so, hello, everyone.
Hello.
Just here to answer any questions. We're anxious, of course, to lock in the contracts. The contract from Ranger is fair. It's very much in keeping with the engineer's budget for all of the road and sidewalk work. You'll also see that it includes the parking area at North Street, which includes both the area in front of the picnic shelter, which has always been paved or been paved for a long time, and it also extends along the north side of the tennis courts. So with a curb all the way around, which we're excited to add. You'll see the funding sources for the main roads and sidewalks is from the anticipated 2024 bond, and the funding source for the North Street Recreation area would be from the 22 Recreation bond. So happy to answer any questions if you have them.
I would just like to add, infrastructure is an identified priority of ours. We're taking a big bite at trying to improve some of our busiest, most trafficked, most visible roads in town. The backlog is very long. We have to start making some progress here. As Matt just said, we are rolling this into the bond package we're going to be talking about in April, these costs, and we anticipate in the coming years having some significant costs for paving infrastructure. It's not cheap. We have a lot of catch-up work to do. We are starting this year, so some of the highly visible, highly traveled roads, including the road through the concourse, Spring Street, Meslonsky, where the high school is. Just next year, we're going to be doing Park Street, and a number of other roads that are in terrible shape, that are highly traveled. And this is a big priority, I know, for the city. So we urge approval and to accept this bid.
Excited, let's get them on the job.
Excellent. Any discussion? Okay, Patty, can we get a vote, please?
All those in favor? 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to Resolution 72, 2024.
Adoption of the city council goals for 2024.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Or Brian, actually, you want to, anything you want to cap with this? I mean, I know
No.
this stems from our retreat. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, I'll just mention for the public, we met a couple months ago on a Saturday, just about a full day on a Saturday to talk about our council goals and priorities for the upcoming year. Great session. It was moderated by an outside moderator who synthesized kind of our list of goals into a 1 or 2 page document that we're going to approve here tonight. And hopefully this will help as a guide in those moments where we become a little rudderless in keeping us on course and reminding us what our goals are for 2024. A number of really important priorities on there. And it'll be good to get this approved and set in stone and guide us for the next year.
So just in case anyone in listening has not read the goals, I think it's meaningful to read them. The top priorities are grow middle-class jobs and economic vitality, improve housing quality and affordability, and invigorate and restructure the Comprehensive Planning Commission. since we will be voting later today on a resolution to earmark ARPA funds for housing, one of the subcategories under improve housing quality is to establish a housing revolving loan fund and create a land bank authority. So, lots on the list. Other priorities include addressing behavioral health issues, investing in parks and recreation, improve civic infrastructure, public transportation, and other things. We have a lot of work to do.
I agree. Any other discussion? Okay. Patty, can I get a vote, please?
All those in favor? Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, excellent. Moving on to Resolution 73, 2024.
Authorizing youth council participation in city council meetings.
Fantastic.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. Jess, you mind coming to the podium, please? This is something that has been something that I've wanted to tackle for quite some time and haven't really had the time as a counselor. I do have now the time as mayor to is really put forth an avenue for the youth of our community to kind of get together and talk about things that we talk about here, civically amongst the youth and get their perspective. We are forming a youth council. Jess Graham is here. She has graciously offered to be the advisor for this program as we get it off the ground. And I know, Councilor Finch, we had a conversation. You had offered to be the counselor, also to be involved in this. This is a fantastic opportunity for the youth. In everywhere I go, I speak to kids, and they say, "Is that happening? Is this going on?" And I'm proud to say that it is. A lot of this, and the bylaws are here. We stole shamelessly from our friends in Lewiston, who have been operating a youth council for 23 years. I've spoken with their advisor on multiple occasions. Yesterday was the most recent, just letting them know of our progress. There is talk about joint meetings and things of that nature, and it's going to be a great program. And anything you please add away.
So Jess Graham, Ward 2, and also a social studies teacher at Waterville Senior High School. I'm really, really excited for this initiative. I think that what I found, I'll be super brief, but what I found is that a lot of our students they're maybe not excited about national electoral politics, but they're really, really interested in how they can be active members of the community and how they can help work to find solutions or make suggestions. And they love working with people in our city and with their elders. I know I've had a lot of students the last few election cycles volunteering with Patty to count absentee ballots and to work at the polls, and they've all come back and said that was one of the more meaningful experiences of their life because they feel a sense of ownership over what happens in our community. And I've also heard from students who are so excited about the prospect of being able to not only share their voice and share their opinion and their desires for what they want to see happen in this community, but to learn, to have this be a sort of apprenticeship in involved citizenship. So I think a great opportunity for both ends of the demographic spectrum in our town, for our young people and for those of us who are maybe not young people anymore, to hear their voices and to also shepherd them into active citizenship. So really great stuff.
Absolutely. Any discussion? No?
I'm so excited. It's
Great,
awesome.
thank you. All right, Patty, can I get a vote, please?
All those in favor? Any opposed? No. 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, moving on to, where are we? Resolution 74, 2024.
Canvassing of votes and determination of the result of the presidential primary election held on March 5, 2024.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Patty, is this, you want to say anything to this, or just we're good?
I really don't want to say anything.
Perfect. All right, well, then let's get a vote.
All those in favor? 6 in favor, 0 opposed.
All right.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Patty.
And thank you to Patty and her team
Yeah,
for
thank
Yeah.
running election 1
Right.
of what?
104.
4, yes.
Yeah, I'm so proud of
early yet.
you and your team.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to Order 75, 2024.
Earmark remaining ARPA funds to housing initiative.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion.
I think we have somebody here that wanted to just add on to, I understand it's housing initiative, so we did have somebody that wanted to speak on housing initiatives.
Okay. Great.
Good evening, William Lesser, represent Central Maine Recovery. We're a program here that just started in Waterville several months ago. Substance abuse house, 12-bed residential program. We are looking to expand into more beds at one house and perhaps another unit itself. So I'm sure it could help with some of the other conversations that have been going on here tonight. We do have people in the house that were regulars of the soup kitchen who are now, we would say, chronic relapsers in the past that have, put together some serious, the past few months and have been working. And what we have is we have a good program going. We're looking to expand that, basically.
Excellent.
Questions? No.
So my question, okay, so I guess I'll add on to it. So when you're talking about housing, like, how is the housing component affect, like, how does that affect? Because remember how you were talking about if we can house an individual for about a month or so, like, can you expand on that?
Well, the housing, the way this program works is that there's no real limit of time that they can stay there. Someone with substance abuse disorder, pass our screening, then come in and stay up there for 2 years or better until they're able to, live independently again. We're trying to produce sustainable recovery there. And what we have now is 12 beds, but we have more room to expand if we could, add a bathroom and fire escape and a few things like that to our third floor. On one house particularly, we have another house in mind that we would like to start a female residence. The residence now is just strictly for men, but we're looking to expand that into a female residence as well. So I didn't know how to go about applying for ARPA funding for that, or if there's anything available for that, but that's why we're here tonight.
So the intent of this resolution is to essentially give the Housing Committee a chance to present housing recommendations to the council. That is not something that we've actively discussed, but it certainly sounds like a worthy project. And so, I'd be happy to talk with you offline about your project and getting funding. I think the intent here is to use this very specialized money that we have in the city, which is a one-time tranche of money from the federal government to do something really transformative around housing, or possibly other initiatives that would help people in Waterville recover. So it's good to hear about your project, and thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilor Finch?
So what's our deadline for getting a plan before the council. My worry is that we are going to earmark these funds and because we have to, as far as I'm concerned, actually allocate them before December, that we're gonna be presented with a rushed plan, or that things are just gonna happen in November. And if we don't have a viable housing plan, we're gonna need to come up with another plan for the money. So can we set a deadline for getting a plan before council? Or I guess just, Councilor Green, kind of, what are your thoughts on when you expect to present something to council for the use of this money?
I expect that it will come within the next couple months. And it's not going to be a rushed plan because it's been under discussion since 2021.
I meant rushed in front of the council. Like, I don't want us to be presented with something in, December, and we've got to take 2 votes right away in December. So is there an estimate on when we can have something to look at?
Definitely before December.
Well, one thing that I know when we had this conversation at the agenda setting meeting is to, I know we have a deadline of December 31st to allocate, okay? So the definition as it was explained to us from Bill Post was that we just have to earmark the funds for housing being the broad topic, right? We don't have to specifically say that these funds are going to fund option A or option B. We just have to have them earmarked for a particular project or a header of a project by the 31st. So,
well, we could certainly check with Bill, but my understanding, I think what we should do is we should have a plan that the council adopts and a number, a funding amount that we allocate to that project. And if that doesn't happen, then we will certainly be able to find other ways to spend that money. I anticipate this coming in the next couple of months. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. I mean, so are we looking at like July? Is that, I mean, is it reasonable for us to say we need to have a plan before this by July in case we need to come up with a different plan?
Scott?
My name is Scott Beal. I'm on the Housing Committee. When do you want the plan? When would it, what?
I mean, 3 years ago, but here we are now. So, I mean, again, is July a reasonable estimate for when the council can look at a housing plan?
It seems like it needs to be. They've made pretty good progress, or we've made pretty good progress on the plan as it is. I think it's a great thing for the city to do. I would encourage you to put as much money in the housing initiative as you can. I realize that you've got all kinds of priorities. I'm personally interested in growing the school. We need more houses to do that. I think the housing is a long-term investment in our community, and it's going to take funds perhaps from other possible uses, but this is why y'all get to make the hard choices. But putting this money in earmarks for housing initiatives like this will allow us to expand first-time buyers as well as improve the existing housing stock in the city. Thank you.
Are you proposing to table this until we have a more detailed plan for?
Okay. Can I?
Well, no, I'm just,
okay.
I'm just wondering if that's what if the goal here is to, obviously, we want to know what we're doing, so maybe tabling it until we have a more of a idea of where we want to be, I guess, right? Just throwing it out there.
I mean, we
So
can
again,
pick a
Are you
date.
making that motion?
I could, but I just want to make sure that because that's what I That's what I gathered from your comments as well.
I mean, that's one potential.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
still
guess
no
I'm-
motion on the table to table. Any other discussion?
I guess I'm kind of confused. So so what we have in front of us, what's wrong with that one?
Yeah,
What's that?
that's my question too.
What was the direct question?
I said like the plan that we have, the order that we have in front of us, so what's wrong with that? Like, what would
Because
you like?
the order
to-
in front of us is not an actual plan. It's kind of a plan to have a plan. And I'm just asking what a reasonable timeline is on actually having a plan in case the plan that we consider we vote down, we're gonna need time to come up with another plan.
Okay.
Well, you came up with a plan in about 5 minutes, so we should be okay.
I also think that it's not just a plan to have a plan. It is a commitment to one, it's a financial commitment or a commitment of resources to one of our strategic priorities in the city. And of course, we don't have the details of that plan yet. How can you have the details of a plan before you've decided that you're allocating resources to developing it? So I think it is a reasonable point to question what the timeline of this may be, because there is a limit on when these funds need to be dispersed. But that doesn't in any way impede our commitment to committing these resources to this priority, right? And just because we don't have the letter of the plan in front of us does not mean that it should stop us from taking this, as we've heard, remarkable opportunity and committing them to a priority that all of us for years, every year I've been on the council that I've been dragged to one of those retreats, we've talked about housing as one of the prime priorities for the city. It's been a theme. It's been a theme every year that I've been here recurrently. So it seems to me that, and I do have full faith in the membership of the people who are tasked with developing this plan. So to me, I don't really see why we would need to table. It seems like if we're going to live up to our stated goal of addressing the housing issue in Waterville, and we have these funds, that we should try to act as in as timely a manner as possible. Certainly not rush it, but move in a timely fashion. This is the step that needs to happen now. I don't really understand what tabling would achieve. Would we be waiting till we had a finalized plan in front of us? Why would they commit all of that time and resource developing a plan that may or may not have resources allocated to it? If we're expecting them to work on developing the detailed letter of these programs without a commitment of resources, that's an absurd waste of their time and kind of an insult to them. I think that if this is something that we want, in broad strokes, if this is something we want, we should act now to dedicate these resources so that people can get on with the important work that they are committed to. That's my perspective on it. I don't really see why waiting is necessary.
Councilor?
Yeah, I just want to add that what this does is also set, if this vote passes, it's a message to the community that this is what we are reserving our ARPA funds for, in case there's any lack of clarity. And at the last meeting, Councillor Finch, you expressed concern that we would have a number of other organizations coming to us and asking for money, and how would we then respond to those requests? This is a message that we want to focus on the housing issue. If you need a date to be confident in voting for this, and let's say September 1st, I'm certainly comfortable with that. That gives us plenty of time to discuss it, and then have an alternate plan if we choose. And certainly, we can decide to spend some of those funds on other issues if we wish. But I think that with all the work the Housing Committee has done, that they deserve a chance to put it before the council.
I was kind of hoping to see it a little sooner. Budget should be over at the end of May. 1st of June, we should have a rough draft.
Yeah, as soon as possible.
1st of June, a rough draft, because we're going to pick it apart.
Just a reminder, we're going to be pretty busy with the budget.
The budget should be over by then.
June?
Wait, but that was my understanding, but I could be wrong.
21st.
I was just, say again?
May 21st, we take the final vote? Is that what we talked about this morning? Yeah.
That's why I was saying the budget should be over at the end of May. Sometime in June, if we can see a rough draft on this thing, that gives us July to tear it apart, put it back together, and vote on it in August.
Yeah, but, for the 4 years I've been on this council, it hasn't always, and I appreciate that we have the A-team here in the city now, and that trains are running on time. But in the past, there have been roadblocks that held us up at the state level that were outside of local control. And why would we bind our hands by setting some sort of date that is like the most optimistic? I think we should be permissive in our timeline. What are we doing in July?
Because we're real good at kicking the can.
Okay.
So is that a suggestion or an amendment?
It was a suggestion because I think the table is still on the floor.
So I threw out the date of September 1st. Are you suggesting that that's not acceptable and we should pick another date?
No, ma'am, I was just trying to get hold of it a little sooner.
To be
that's
clear, there
all.
is no table on the floor.
Yeah, that was going to be my clarifying question.
I wasn't sure, I thought there might have been, that's why I'm throwing out a suggestion.
We are in open discussion for this order.
And what would be the structure of any kind of timeline as an amendment? What would that mean? So that a yes vote on this would be contingent upon the production of some sort of plan by September 1st? Is that how, I'm trying to understand what we're even talking about.
Yeah. I will offer September 1st as a hard deadline to have a proposal to the council. If not before, that's an end date.
Mm-hmm. So the first meeting in September, make it easier on you.
Yeah, the first meeting.
That seems fine by me. Seems reasonable.
Okay, I don't,
I got a question,
okay.
but I don't think it has to do with this, or maybe it does. So when we're
If
looking
it doesn't
at,
have to do with this, then we should.
no, so it has to do with housing and so having a plan. So when we're looking at a whole housing plan, are we looking at homelessness after September? Are we looking at that part? Are we going all the way through, or is just for these upper funds?
All right, so here's how I see this, okay? Like we have a housing committee, okay, that is currently working on a couple of options for housing in the city. Whether or not those are the programs that come out of this, that remains to be seen, okay? If you have another program or an option or an idea for the use of the money that we're allocating, this is your opportunity to work and develop that program and bring it to the council by the 1st of September.
Okay.
Or the first meeting in September. So if there's somebody else on this council or member of the community that feels as though there is another program or entity that would benefit in the umbrella of housing, now is the time to work on the program and bring it, and they'll all be discussed I don't think we're putting all of the eggs, or we don't have to put all of the eggs in the ARPA committee basket to come up with a plan that's going to, solve housing in the city. So if you have a plan and you want it discussed or considered, bring it to us for September 1st.
Okay.
Patty, do we have to add, we will have to amend this to add September 1st, because that's not currently in the order as it speaks, as it's written, I should say. So we need someone to make an amendment and second vote to have September 1st into.
We can.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay. Can we get a vote or a roll call on the amendment? This is an order.
All those in favor of the September 1st deadline?
Is this a roll call because it's an order?
It's
or
an
no?
order.
This is just on the amendment.
Thank you. I just want to make
So,
sure.
All those in favor? 6 in favor, 0 opposed. So can we move it as amended now?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the overall amendment as it's moved?
It's on the main motion as amended.
Correct. Okay. All right. Patty, can I get a roll call?
This is a first reading, so it only doesn't require a roll call.
Of course it doesn't. Can we get a vote? Can we get whatever we need to do to move to the next one?
All those in favor?
Thank you.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay. All right, moving on to Order 76, 2024.
Approve use of ARPA funds to support various community partners.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, discussion.
Yeah, so this came about because of the vote 2 weeks ago, and then the vote we just took earlier about the soup kitchen. There were a group of 8 nonprofits that in December the council allocated ARPA funds to. They gave $10K to the soup kitchen. 6 weeks later, the soup kitchen came to the city and asked for not only 5 times the amount of funds, but also to be a line item in the city budget, and that runs contrary to what these organizations were told in December and at the time they applied for these ARPA funds, which is that the money was one time and that there's no more. And I think it's an ineffective and unfair form of governance to tell these organizations that, hey, you guys were following the rules and sorry you didn't break the rules, and come to us with a need in time. It kind of feels like we're making it up as we go along, and kind of also making up our priorities as we go along. And I just feel we need to give these other orgs, the opportunity to come forward and, also tell us why they need additional funds. And we can kind of discuss how to fund or not fund, but they deserve to be heard. And the organizations, I'm not sure if there's a rep from each organization here, but there's KV-CAP, which originally asked for money for Educare, which is a vital community program. I know KV-CAP also works on housing. They could talk about what they wish to use the money for. Maine Children's Home, which children's mental health, also a vital community program, especially when you consider how children were really the most impacted during COVID, and ARPA funds are for impacts on COVID. We can I think either the New York Times or the Washington Post just came out with an article about math scores and how remote learning caused many to fall behind, not just in math, but also English, and the effects that this has on their mental health. And then there's the 2 food banks. There's enough to be said about that. We just heard from people why feeding people is so vital and important. These are also organizations that are feeding people. And then, there is the Waterville Historic Society, and I said earlier that if we don't care about our history, then nobody else will. But I also want to point out that the Waterville Historic Society lost kind of a vital connection to the community when the schools went remote. And that really impacted kind of the work that they were able to do, and really their integration into the community. You know, Senna and Mescalance Trails and the Community Land Trust, you know, they're asking for money for Lehman Island, which is an area we desperately need to develop. But I also know that the Land Trust works with housing, and they might be able to speak to that. And then finally, Starfish Village, I think, is one of the organizations in this city, including the city itself, that is doing a lot to directly address the housing crisis by keeping people in their homes through a variety of methods. And if we don't give money to anyone else, I would strongly encourage us to, at the very least, give money to Starfish Village, just because of their work on directly facing the critical housing crisis.
Okay. Any, Counselor?
How does this order interact with the one that we just passed, that we just voted on?
We can amend the order next week.
I see.
Yes, it was a first reading, but it does appear that first reading committed the remaining ARPA funds of approximately $750,000 toward housing initiatives.
And this would detract what total from that?
That would be the remaining balance. There's about, after the soup kitchen allocation earlier, there's about 750,000.
No, I understand, but
This,
order,
the commitment for this, yeah.
order 76 here would impact that 750. How, to what tune?
It would take away 175, I'm assuming.
If you, yeah, it depends on who and how many you allocated funds to, yeah.
Counselor Green?
I just want to point out or clarify that the ARPA funds that were allocated in the fall were the result of the council deciding to use ARPA funds to fund $50,000 in our budget for outside agencies. That was what the organizations were told. They were told there was a max of 10. Every 7 of them applied for $10,000. 1 applied for $2,500. They were all funded, not all the same amounts. I think that it's very worthy to consider funding some of these organizations, or all of them, more funds. The reason that I brought forward the earmark on housing funds is that I think that we should consider that we should not give away funds until we decide what we're going to do with housing. It's a big ticket item. We can also, think about other uses of these funds after we decide what we're doing with housing. So I would move to table this until after we receive, at least until the next vote. It was a unanimous vote, first vote on earmarking housing funds, and so let's finish that vote, and then I would move to table this until we consider the housing projects.
Second.
So the motion to table is till when?
Until after we decide how much funding we need to use for our housing projects,
First meeting in September or earlier.
presuming that the vote passes next week.
Any
But
discussion?
that doesn't have to do with the September 1st deadline. Am I missing something?
I'm just saying, I don't know how we can vote on, I guess I don't understand how we can vote on this. We just took a first vote to earmark all the funds for housing, or to wait and consider the housing projects before we consider further funding, right?
Right, but we can, at the next meeting, we can amend Order 75 with the amount.
Based upon this vote right now.
The point that Councilor Green is making, please forgive me if I'm misrepresenting you, but the point that Councilor Green is making is that we don't have the details of the plan coming out of the Housing Committee in hand yet, so we don't know how much resource they will need. And by us committing funds to all these other boutique, projects, that it may be limiting the capacity of what would be coming out of whatever that ultimate plan is. And so until we know what the plan might be, this is why we said September, right? Because perhaps nothing comes. I don't believe it, but perhaps nothing comes of the housing committee plan. And then we'll have a wealth of ARPA funds to distribute to all manner of organizations, and we can consider them at that time. Or perhaps the housing committee will only need a fraction of the $750 that's been committed to housing, and then we could take the step at that time to fund these organizations. Or perhaps the housing committee will say, actually, we need every single dollar we can possibly get to put this worthy plan that we would then judge on its merits at that time, and precluding us dedicating funds to any of these other projects. What she's saying is that we can't actually decide on these other projects until we know what is going to be coming, this plan that we are eagerly awaiting on the first meeting of September now. We need to see that before we can decide where else this money will go. And because it's the first meeting in September, we'll have the remainder of the fall to figure out where else, if there are any remaining funds, where else we would choose to allocate them at that time. And to put this money into those groups now would be premature. We need to what she's saying is we need to let the housing project play out, because we've made that commitment in Order 75 here.
So,
am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. I guess my concern there is that we just didn't do that with the soup kitchen. So why is the soup kitchen worthy of being heard and considered for additional ARPA funds, but these other organizations are not?
Well, I mean, that was the discussion that we had ad nauseum last meeting, right?
It's still a valid question, though.
But we voted along that.
One reason is that we adopted a plan to address homelessness in December that included having the soup kitchen stay open for longer hours and to consider funding it.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was supposed to be for the winter.
Well, we adopted that plan, right? I think people have argued that it is an extremely vital resource right now, and certainly you can disagree, but that would be
I don't
my
disagree,
reason
but I
for it.
think they're all vital resources in the community, and I'd actually like to hear from the community partners that are present so they can speak more to how vital they are to the community.
Well, I think right now, hold on one second, because we do have a motion on the floor to table this, which is essentially ends this conversation immediately. So I think now that is the time to take the vote, whether or not you are going to table and end this discussion, or choose not to table this at this point, hear these folks out, and then move forward from there.
And just to clarify, that was tabled to a date certain? What was
September,
the date?
September 1st.
September
The first meeting in
advent of
September.
the housing plan.
After September? Yeah.
So should the motion be until the housing plan is finalized and approved?
Okay, I would like to hear what they have to say.
Then vote no on the table.
They can speak on behalf of the tabling, though, right? Public can speak. They can speak on behalf, but they have to keep their comments limited to the motion at hand.
Why they shouldn't table or not table is the question, not why they need the money.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, well.
I don't want to be the claw in the room.
Okay, so you want to bring people up here to
But I
say
think
whether
their
or not
comments would have to be limited to their thoughts on the table.
on table or not table. Perfect. Then we can certainly do that.
Not a general overview of their organizations.
Right.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm addressing very
whether or not we should
specifically-
table this or not.
Okay. I would ask you not to table it. I would ask you not to table it for several reasons. The first is that the housing initiative is a really big thing. It's been going on for a long time. It's massive. The other included, we're an ongoing thing, where the housing initiative is something that's not started. I mean, that's just there. You have an initiative. But you're talking about organizations that are already existing, are already delivering services within the community. And so you're saying, you're tabling us when we're ongoing in favor of something that's not yet active. And so I would also suggest that it would be important for you maybe to make a decision right now. It would, I certainly know I put a lot of work into presenting what I thought Starfish needed to tell you, is if you're going to earmark $750,000 for housing, do it. Just say, look, 100% of this is going to housing. Or say 20% of this 750 is going to social services and these entities that deliver them. While we're figuring out what we're doing with housing, these other entities are still doing their thing. And so I don't think it's necessarily fair to make us wait for an initiative to come to fruition that has been percolating for a very long time when we're still out there in the trenches. So that's all I would argue. And I would also say I want to thank you very much for all the support you've given us. So in that, I'm very grateful.
I would just second what Reverend Moe had to say, that she really summed it up.
I apologize. Can you just let us, everybody know who you are?
Oh, Sandra Coster, and I'm from the Waterville Food Bank.
Thank you.
So I agree completely with what Reverend Moe has to say, and that's enough.
I know it's late. I won't belabor it. I'm Jay Violet with the Waterville Historical Society, and I too feel that we've put a lot of time and effort, speaking for ourselves and I'm sure everyone else, put a lot of time and effort into articulating our plan. We were prepared to do that this evening. The Waterville Historical Society made an initial proposal a couple of years ago. We really didn't get an answer. We then came in and we were invited by the ARPA committee to come in and make a presentation months ago, which we did. We were told that it was not a successful, we were told that we wouldn't get any money. We appreciate the operating funds that we got, but I have to say honestly, I'm feeling disrespected on behalf of the society. I feel that the way the vote was orchestrated today was intentional. And I'm feeling like we were boxed out. And so I'd really like the opportunity to make our case in front of the committee, and we would appreciate your reconsideration. And we'd be happy to come back at a future date. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, Mr. Mayor. Bruce Patiglieri, Director of Winslow Community Cupboard Food Bank. I'm a little perplexed because I received an email to come here tonight and do a presentation. It's just like some of these other people, and then to hear that you want to table it and we've wasted our evening sitting here. So I would ask for you to not table this, to ongo these discussions. My second comment is, when we were presented or asked to come with a plan or money, we came to it. If we just earmarked housing and there's no plan for housing, we'll just put money aside and let housing decide 6 more months what we're going to do. But yet all these other organizations, nonprofits, you want us to come up with a plan or how much money we want to ask for now. I don't understand. I've never been in council or government. This is why I don't get involved with it. But it just perplexes me how this is being talked about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Just real quick, Lori Noonan. Just want everybody to just think about the recovery center that was just presented. How many people may be dying tonight? And how many people, if they get into recovery, may be living? I think it's a big thing, and I think in Waterville, we spent so much time tonight discussing all the activity with the food bank and all of that. I think this plays a big part with it, and I've seen some tremendous things happen with the recovery. I'm also a landlord and see all kinds of things happening out there, squatters, all kinds of things happening out there in this world. And I really hope you'll consider earmarking some money towards recovery, because I think that is an answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Scott.
This is a hard topic. Personally, I support all of these things. But we're talking about, as part of the housing initiative, to establish a land bank and a revolving loan fund. And the larger those funds are, the more that we can do on behalf of housing in the city. And it's a really hard choice, but if we have more money for the land fund and for the revolving loan fund, we can do more. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
So I just like to say thank you to all the people that came out tonight who received an email from one counselor asking if they'd like $25,000. I would respond the same way as you. However, that is not exactly usual process either. So I'm going to ask that everyone who came tonight have a chance to do a 3-minute pitch for us. At this point, I think we should hear what you have to say. And that is at least according you the minimum amount of respect.
So,
We
okay,
got the table on.
so you're voting to not table? Oh, that, I mean, that's the general,
Well,
I mean, at this point,
She's going to have to, but she put the table out, so you can
yeah,
rescind.
I'll rescind it.
okay. Okay,
And the second is
Second.
also withdrawn? Yeah.
perfect.
I got a question. So are we gonna be adding onto this? Because we have other organizations that are not on this list that are here today.
Listen, I think we're,
That's a good point.
I think we're this is an open order that can be shaped by the 6 people that are here in this room, any way in which you want to shape it or not shape it. So that is up to you as to what you're going to do. No one else here in this room can make you do anything other than what you want to do. So if there is something that you want to add it, make an amendment and make it happen. I think that in the order of just moving this along, let's just start at the top and go through the organizations that are here. If the organizations are here, we will provide them with 3 minutes to provide their pitch to you for the amount and the order. We can then have a discussion to determine whether or not, or any amendments to the amounts or the people that get funded. We can certainly have that conversation. If there is not a representative in the audience that is here to discuss, then we're going to move to the next one. What are we? So we're going to start. Let's start at the top. No particular order. KV Cap. Is there anyone from KV Cap here?
We have someone online that's raised their hand. Rhonda Kaiser. Can you hear us, Rhonda?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Rhonda Kaiser. I'm the director of the Educare School in Waterville. I've been working in Waterville for about 24 years. I just wanted to let you all know that we do continue to work on the ways to increase our workforce development and our additional pathways to bring individuals into the field of early childhood and education, not just in Educare, but in the field in general. And our training entry-level workforce development pathway, which we've used the previous funds, currently we're using from the city of Waterville, have really helped us to recruit the individuals that are providing We're providing barrier funds to encourage and entice them to attend our program. And each participant who completes the training has the opportunity to receive a stipend and help with some of the cost of attending, like childcare, transportation, clothing. And if they're hired, they will receive a hiring incentive. And we do 2 to 3 trainings a year. In the past training, we had 21 individuals attend our last workforce entry training program. And 8 of them were hired as substitutes in the city of Waterville for us. And as you all know, we also partner with a public school, and 2 of them became full-time employees. So with the additional funds, we'd really like to strengthen and increase our work with our entire family population. And in our work to support these individuals with their workforce goals, we've really found that we have to work with the whole family. That's really led to stability, increased resiliency, their well-being. So what this really means is that we're developing goals with our enrolled families that include all of the family members. So it might not just be the child that's enrolled at Educare. And so in doing this, we've really realized that there's a need to increase staff time with the whole family, as well as a need to provide the funding for the barriers to consider that, and to help families meet their aspirations. And some of these additional funds will help us to allow us for ongoing evolution of our program, our approaches, support our professional development, provide the barrier funds for families. So this kind of goes, I think, is in line with sort of like, this
30
speaks to the
seconds.
housing challenge. And really providing those barriers to families for such things as gas, vehicle repairs, anything like that. And our family support services do really work with families in helping to secure housing as well. So any additional funds would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. Just for point of clarification, you said Educare. Was that Educare and KB Cap? Are they the same entity?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Maine Children's Home.
So Diana emailed at 8:40 and said she'd been in attendance waiting to speak. She's ill and she had to leave.
Okay. All right. Starfish.
Boy, you guys play a tough game. All right, I incorporate by reference everything I've already given you to read, which is a substantial packet of literature that tells you what we did last year in 2023. I can tell you that we're not through the 3rd quarter. We have already served half of the number of the people that we served all last year. And what Starfish Village will do with this money is spend every single dime back into the community. I don't have to come to you and ask you for any money for infrastructure, for salaries, for any program whatsoever, because I have no overhead except a minimal cost U-Haul storage unit where I have some emergency things like beds and stuff that we have. So every single dime goes back to the community. And what does that look like? We are the port of last resort. When KV Cap, as wonderful as they are, denies somebody assistance for car repair, we get the car repair done. When general assistance turns somebody down for their reasons, we do that. We work with every entity here. We work with the discretionary funds at the shelter. They help us a lot too. We help them. When somebody needs to get on a bus from the shelter because the shelter has found housing for them and a relative in Ohio, we buy the ticket, we buy the luggage, we give the people food to travel, and no, other entities don't do that. So what I can say to you is every single dime of the money that you give us goes to the community. I work 100% pro bono. Reverend Nancy Finland works 100% pro bono. And we have a volunteer group like Nancy Sanford and others who work 100% pro bono. We're very, very lucky. I'm not holding myself out as anybody special, because I worked my whole life and needed a salary, and I know other people do too. I just happen to be fortunate right now that I'm retired and I can do this. That's all it is. But it just means that I could tell you that every penny goes back into the community. I will also address this. Almost all of it goes to Waterville. We sometimes get phone calls from Skowhegan and other areas pretty far out. I try not to respond to them, but I have some designated funds for relief of people outside of Waterville. I use that. When that dries up, I don't use it. So this money, I can say to you, you have my word, I would designate every single penny of it to the residents of Waterville to keep them in the housing they're in now, and that's the important part we play. We try to keep people from falling into homelessness. We try to keep them on the road so they can go to work. So that's what we're due. But we are literally the place everybody goes when they have tried every other resource. And I just will finally say this, we ask them to try every other resource.
Thank you.
So they don't just show up and get the money. We make sure they've been to GA, they've been everywhere. So that's what I would say, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Greater Waterville Food Bank.
I'm Sandra Costrin. The Waterville Food Bank was founded in 1981. It is housed at Pleasant Street United Methodist Church on Pleasant Street. However, we are our own 501c3. We have no paid staff. Our probably one of our biggest expenses is we do have a van, insurance, gas, and all those things. I think we serve a very different population than the soup kitchen does. We serve mainly families or single people, small families, large families. Recently, we had a new family of 9 who presented to us. The biggest thing we have tried to do recently, since COVID hit, and we were fortunate to get some funding, is we started offering our clients fresh milk, real butter, not margarine. For a long time, we gave out cottage cheese in general. So that's how we would be spending this money, is to be able to continue to provide more nutritious foods for our clients. And the one thing we pride ourselves in, when people come to us, they get choices. They tell us, do they want green beans? Do they want peas? Do they want corn? We just don't give them a set box of food. They have choices. They tell us what they want, what they'll eat. And it's really important that we do this and make them feel as accepted, friendly people. And we welcome them to come every 14 days. We certainly currently serve about 200 to 250 families a month. We also provide food to some of the senior residents. We share with the homeless shelter and the evening sandwich program and the soup kitchen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to Winslow Community Cupboard.
Thank you again very much for listening to me. Again, Bruce, Winslow Community Cupboard. We're only 4 years old, come next week, the 28th. We've grown quite large. Waterville is our #1 town. Even though we're in Winslow across the bridge, okay, that evil Winslow word, Waterville's our #1 town. We serve 33% of our clientele is Waterville, okay? 508,000 pounds we've given out already on March 19th of this year. Last year was 1.9. We're not afraid to give out food. We want to end the food crisis. And Waterville is our #1. Not only that, we supply evening sandwich program with their fresh fruits, vegetables, and milk. Soup kitchen, we go to Educare. We also started giving them their fresh products. We go to Seton Village once a month to their seniors, so those seniors don't have to go out. We go to them. We go to the Educare kids when they get out of school at 3:30 once a month. We also feed the homeless on Sundays. We send a bunch of food down to the homeless, and they have meals on Sundays afternoon. We are helping Waterville in a tremendous amount. I'm not asking for a lot of money. I'm asking for whatever you can do. I know with the 10,000, we were the lowest one and only received a quarter of what we asked for. For 2023, just so you know, we served over 3,300 households in the year. And so far this year, we're at 518 in the 3 months. Okay. We love Waterville. We come to Waterville. We were just at the VFW building this afternoon this morning from 10 to 12. We fed 107 families in 2 hours. Fresh produce, pineapples, raspberries, bananas, stuff that is the most expensive in the stores, organic bananas nevertheless. And this is what we do. In 4 years, we've grown to be the #2 food bank in the state with 3 trucks, 3 trailers, going up to Jackman tomorrow, which, is irrelevant. But out of the 14 to 16 different towns that we serve with our food bank every 2 Thursdays, Waterville is #1. Waterville is #2 in our towns that we keep
30
records.
seconds, Bruce.
Okay.
Thank you.
Waterville is #2 in our towns that we keep records of the last mile produce trailers. So even though we're only coming to Waterville once a month now, but if our trailer is in Fairfield, Waterville resident can come to Fairfield. Clinton, same thing. You don't have to be from that town. And Waterville residents have acknowledged that, and they are coming to us to get free fruits, vegetables, cheese, milk, stuff that if you partner with Good Shepherd, you don't have to pay for. But yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Okay. Waterville Historical Society. Great spot last night on TV. It was really good. Really good promotion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's another one coming on the 2-cent bridge.
Perfect.
So as I mentioned previously, my name is Jay Violet. I'm president of the Waterville Historical Society, and we are here today on behalf of the children and families in Waterville. While we did take a hit for lost revenues and higher operating expenses during the pandemic, we're here today and we made improvements to our property. I'm sure you've all seen it. If you haven't, come and see it on Silver Street. But we feel strongly that that we want to enhance and develop educational activities within the city of Waterville by using this money to hire a part-time educational coordinator who will enrich learning and help the kids recover from the disaster that was the pandemic when the schools were closed. I think Councilor Finch just talked about a New York Times recent study that showed that they are further behind because of the loss of in-person teaching. So we would look to use this money to make up for those lost educational opportunities by working at the George G. Mitchell School and the Albert Hall School. We would host planning meetings for local educators, host summer workshops for local educators to explore ways that they can innovatively bring history and culture into the schools, improve their literacy. We would raise funds to cover school field trips because those have been canceled. We don't have kids coming to the museum anymore because they can't afford to bus them in. So we would go to them with a traveling trunk program where we would bring artifacts from the Historical Society into the classrooms, and we would support the teachers. We'd also create intern opportunities for public school students to research our history and the artifacts that we have, and provide opportunities for students to curate exhibits. We collaborate with the Waterville Public Library, Waterville Creates, And we have an outreach coordinator now that we're funding ourselves part-time, who's actively engaged with the community and hosting history talks.
30 seconds, Jay. Thank you.
And an important point that I want to bring out in my last 25 seconds is that we are the beneficiary of a Harold Alfond matching grant. So if you can give us this $25,000, then that will be 100% matched by the Harold Alfond Foundation, who has shown their commitment to the city of Waterville by providing that matching funding. And we want to keep serving the community. We get a lot of requests for genealogical research, we get calls all the time for families who are closing up their estate, and we serve all of those people. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Last but not least, on this list, Waterville Community Land Trust, Kennebec-Massillonsky Trail, South End Neighborhood Association, operating under one entity. Anyone from that organization wish to come forward tonight and speak? Anyone online, Patty, for this or no?
No.
Okay. Scott.
I'm on the Waterville Community Land Trust, and I'm sure they could put the money to use. They're trying to revitalize houses that are not in good shape, so I'm sure the money could come to some use.
Thank you.
You're wearing multiple hats tonight, Scott, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
And we have, I would like to add the recovery, since they're here. Or that's going to be separate?
You need to make a motion to add anyone to this list.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to add the recovery housing
Thank you.
onto this list.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on adding the Central Maine Recovery Center to?
I'm
this
assuming
list?
that's for $25,000 as well?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Seeing no discussion, can we get
Well,
a? Okay.
I guess I just want to say, if we're really going to follow process here, then we really should have some sort of application in writing, which we don't have from them.
Oh, they're here.
So obviously not this moment. Well, we don't have anything in writing from the Recovery Center as to what the request would be. So I would just like to see something at least before a second vote.
Okay, vote on the amendment. Or, yeah.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Remind me what the amendment
The
is.
Add them to the list.
the amendment is to add the recovery
So-
housing for $25,000.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Are you in favor or no?
Any opposed?
Okay. Okay.
So can we move it as amended?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. So at this point, so we've added them to the list. So in the essence of what we've done previously, I'll invite you up to 3 minutes to come up to the podium and talk about what you would, like, the pre-proposal, like you're going to send to us. Yeah, absolutely. This is your opportunity to come and make a case.
I would love to make my case.
Love it.
Again, William Lesser, Central Maine Recovery. We are a nonprofit organization, funded straight out of pocket for the need of this area, we'll say that. We run a 12-bed house right now. We're looking to expand that into that one house particular on Hazelwood Avenue up to 15 beds. We have a third floor that we would need fire escapes and some works per the fire marshal who's been through the house to make that feasible. We're also looking at another project on High Street that we hope to move along with that. But there are a lot of operating costs with this. People come in off the street, they don't have anything. A lot of times they don't have clothes, they're coming right out with what they got on their back. And we've been taken out of our pocket again to provide that, taking them to Walmart, taking them to the, some of the clothing addicts around. And we could definitely use some money to help push this along. I think that we've, over the past few months anyway, we've proven that, the program that we have laid out works. I mean, we have some information and some flyers around. We don't have to get into the whole details of the program today, but it's definitely inspiring on what's happening at that house today. These are people that are homeless in Tent City, in the soup kitchens, and they're now working in the community. They're going back to school. They're, GEDs. One guy got a permit, first time in his life he's ever got a permit. So things are happening there that we're very proud of. I've been working in this field for 7 years here in Waterville. I used to work for a local ACT team, and we seen the need. When we try to get people into recovery, it's just very difficult to do in this area. So this is something we really take seriously, and we're very proud of, and we could definitely use the funding for operation costs and expansion. That's basically what we're going for.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you for your time tonight. I really do. I understand we didn't really follow formality, but it's the way it goes with Central Maine Recovery. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, William. I appreciate it. Okay. So.
So we have the item on the floor as amended, adding the recovery housing.
So let's open this up to discussion amongst the council. We have 7, 8 proposals now for, for an amount of $25,000, right? Like, and whether I don't want to use arbitrary, set amount. I know in having discussions with Councilor Finch is how do we arrive at 25,000? I believe the response was, well, that's what we gave. I just went with 25,000 as a way, because that's what we allocated in unrestricted funds to the soup kitchen, which is a fair assessment. I know that, I'm done. No, I'm kidding. I know that, right. I know also, Councilor Green had threw out, in conversation, the methodology of what we're giving the soup kitchen is 1.5 times the amount that we gave them at the initial, 2.5 times? I apologize. 2.5 times the original amount that we gave them, and maybe that is an option instead of the 25,000. If the organization presented it to us before, then we give them 2.5 times. So there's a lot of things to discuss and to throw out there as we have this conversation, let it begin.
Yeah, so the math on the 2.5 times would be 110,000 instead of 175,000. And that does not include the new addition. That doesn't include the new addition, but it'd be 110.
Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts or to what we heard this evening?
So we just passed, this thing that discussed kind of our top priorities, economic vitality, housing and affordability, and then, there's a whole long list of other priorities, and I think every single organization on this list falls into those other priorities that we decided as a council were important and worthy of consideration.
Anyone else?
Hard job getting our money.
Yeah. Well,
a couple points. The first one is a point that's already been made, which is certainly the work that all of these organizations are doing is critical work. It's important work. It's ongoing work. However, it's hard for us to understand what would happen, how we could best utilize the remaining funds for the housing initiative if we are committing those funds before we have a finalized plan for how the remaining 3/4 of the funds would be used. Secondly, another point that was made, but I'm going to look at the other side of it, which is that, yes, indeed, these other groups have ongoing activities. Why would we dedicate money to something that doesn't exist yet? To me, that's a compelling argument. So we have services, we have this landscape of services, but this money is an opportunity to expand the palette of services that are available in Waterville by providing new outlets for people who are struggling with housing in one way or the other, right? So it's you know, if I had the endless bag of money that I would probably be a curse if I had, of course I would want to fund all of these projects to the limit of their need and desire. But you know, if we are going to build something new, this is an opportunity for that. It's an opportunity for that feels pretty compelling to me. And if I am to understand it correctly, the land bank, that comes with the potential for matching federal funds as well, right? And so the only group that was able to come forward and with anything similar was the Historical Society and their commitment from the Alfond Center. So that's a way of multiplying the resource that Waterville is able to bring to bear. That, you know, for every dollar we spend on something else, we could be spending $2 on the land bank initiative with federal dollars. Yeah, it's an unenviable position that we're in. I regret the way that the procedure that this has gone through tonight, because I have to say I'm embarrassed on behalf of the council that we brought some of the, honestly, the most altruistic and hardest working people in Waterville, the most caring humans that Waterville has to offer here tonight, right? And to face a sort of agonizing, this agonizing moment, right? It's not easy for anybody up here. But, yeah, my personal, I do seek consensus among the council. That may not always be possible, but I hope that the council can see the potential opportunity that the housing initiative offers us, and will be patient enough to see what they bring forward and realize that we will have, at a future date, a chance to decide whether that potential for something new, a new service that Waterville could have, whether it's compelling enough to warrant a final decision on these ARPA funds, or whether at that time we decide to fund any of these other groups, right? These people are tough, they're resilient, and I'm sure that they know, I have faith, as hard as it may be, that they're gonna persist until we have a housing plan, regardless of whether they get 25K from us tonight or not. I know they can use it, but I think they'll persist. So as hard as it may be, I counsel patience, personally. That's what I think the situation calls for.
But don't you see the perception, though, in regards to the soup kitchen? We voted on the soup kitchen tonight. So what makes the soup kitchen any different than any of these other organizations? And even if we were to vote, it's $200,000. That's including the recovery center, Hazelwood. So that would allocate $550,000 to the housing. And so is that not enough money?
To your point, I believe I voted with you to table last week because I didn't like how that procedure was. I didn't like the process that was happening last week either. But then the sense of the council was to not table and to go forward, and then I went with the sense of the council. I didn't like the way that happened either, not because I don't think the soup kitchen isn't doing amazing, incredibly worthy work, and it's not that they're not going to use that money. But that's the way it went last week. We can't change that. I don't think that, because procedure was broken once, that we need to do it. It feels like there's no ground for us to stand on, at this point. What's to say that there aren't 8 other worthy outlets for money in town? I'm sure there are. Perhaps these are some of the most critical in Waterville, but how do we begin to parse that out? I
don't disagree in regard to how difficult it is because, quite frankly, obviously the soup kitchen is doing incredible. You guys are all doing incredible work. Mm-hmm. Every single buddy that, as you said, selfless people in the city that take care of the most vulnerable. How can we say no to that? We can't. That's why I believe, in regards to soup kitchen, I think they deserve the money, regardless of my vote. It was in regards to, the procedure and how that was done. But I think that they deserve that money. I think Carla and her staff and the volunteers deserve that money. But I also think these guys do as well.
I don't disagree with you, Brandon. If I vote no tonight, it's not really no, it's not now. I just have one further thing to point out, which is that when we first received these monies, we said, let's use some for immediate support, and let's use some for long-term sustainable change. And we've allocated now over half to immediate direct support. And whatever the council decides will be great, but I am holding out hope that we can do something that is really big and lasting with this money. And I've served on the ARPA committee and the housing committee. And so I'm also speaking for the people who worked very hard to get to this point, both on making decisions on the funding, which this decision is pretty arbitrary compared to that process, and then also all the work that's gone into trying to come up with a solution to housing. So.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, so we have an amended order at this point to
Show hands.
25,000, first vote for the support of these ARPA funds to these organizations. All right, I'm going to show of hands.
All those in favor of the amended? Those opposed?
All right, we'll move to. Great.
One more thing.
We move to ordinance 77.
Actually, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
having voted in the affirmative on Order 75, I motion to reconsider 75 so that we can amend it to the proper dollar amount.
Second.
Thank you. Okay. So, I don't blame you. Thank you, Mel. Okay, so you're moving to amend the amount in order?
We have to vote on,
Correct.
the reconsideration first.
Right.
Correct, okay.
All
You
those in
gonna vote?
favor of reconsidering Order 75? Those opposed? 4 in favor, 2 opposed. So we're back to Order 75, which is,
Are we including the money?
Everything that was
for the-
included in
Okay.
the order,
So
yes,
it's
correct.
$550,000.
All right, that's what I thought. Just making sure.
Correct.
26.3% reduction.
so what's the new amount that we're amending?
So I
to?
will move
550.
to amend to $550,205.37.
Is there a second?
Second.
You gonna vote?
We need a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? 2. 4 in favor, 2 opposed. Okay,
Okay.
now we're on to ordinance
Ordinance
77.
77, 2024.
Amend the zoning map 218 College Avenue.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. All right, so this had come to us before we referred this to the planning board. The planning board reviewed this, and I do believe we have a memo from them that the board did vote 6-0 to recommend that the city council rezone this property. Do we, I think you got, yes, thank you. Do you want to just come up and just, anything that you want to say? I mean, we've kept you here until 10:22. You deserve a moment up here to say, to, again, pitch the support. But.
Hi, Dennis Pella, owner of 218 College Ave.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're just trying to expand the housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the efforts.
Yeah.
So, good. Okay, moving on. Can we get a vote, please, Patty?
All those in favor? 6 in
Do
favor?
we have to do a roll call on this one?
That's, well,
No, this is a
it's
first
vote.
reading.
Yeah, first reading, it's a vote.
Oh, first reading, okay.
So all those in favor? 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Our executive session is an important topic that I think requires some time to consider. And just in conferring with one counselor, we have a scheduling issue. I would maybe recommend to table this to the next meeting.
Oh, seconded.
I can't make a motion, but I'm recommending maybe table this.
Oh, I'll
So
make the
moved.
motion. Yeah.
Motion second, so moved.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here today.